Hey guys, I don't know. Can you hear me? Let me know in chat. We are seriously having some technical difficulties. I think it's Restream, honestly. So let me know in the chat if you can hear me, if I sound clear, am I breaking up, any of that happening. I have to wait for you guys to respond because it's on. I can't see you in real time back here, so I'm waiting. I'm looking at my phone. For you guys in chat, can you hear me? Okay, I typed it in just in case. All right, thank you, Rachel, because I can never tell. I don't know how this is going to work. You can hear me? Okay, because we were having some technical issues here. I can't even get the intro to play. All right, I couldn't control the buttons back here a minute ago when Butterfly was back here, so I had her just drop down completely. Um, we still have several hours on our extra internet we bought, so I don't know what the heck's going on. It shows we got a good strong signal, and I rebooted everything, so we'll see what happens. I told Butterfly to come back in a few minutes once we got live and see how things go. Sometimes it may be trying to push too much bandwidth out to get her up. I don't know. I think she's back now. We're going to try. I'll try to get her up. Hey, girl. Hey. You have to
Can you hear me? Yeah, I did.
I'm going to be, if y'all hear me pause, because I feel like when I'm talking to her, we are on a little bit of a delay, and I just got to pause a minute. I don't know if she needs to unmute.
No,
But
I
yeah,
muted.
y'all can hear
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. So I can hear you. You guys, can you hear Butterfly and all the things? They say they can hear me fine now. The intro was whacked out. I don't know what was going on.
It's the weather.
Good thing we're
No.
going to be doing whatever. It's my window's open right now. Florida is feeling pretty good. I know it's going to change in 24 hours, so I'm trying to I'm trying to wallow in it while I can.
Right.
um,
Cold here.
so, is it cold there already in Texas?
31.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
But it comes through you and it has to come toward me, so it'll be here to me by tomorrow, and then it'll move on to the next unwilling participant in his hot
Yeah,
mess,
exactly.
cold mess. But on a serious note, though, I hope everybody's staying safe. They got some bad predictions coming. A lot of places already getting hammered in the Northeast, and blizzard country and stuff. So
Hmm.
I hope everybody has the supplies they need and checked on all your people and your pets, and y'all know what to do. If you don't, we'll try to educate you. No shame in the game, right? We got to know what to do.
Exactly.
Donnie says it's -25. Oh my God, Donnie. We're going to say a little prayer for Donnie right now,
Right.
y'all. If you're of the praying kind, if not, send the vibes. Holy cow. I don't envy you at all. 3 feet here, Carrie says, it feels like 7. Oh my God. I said feet, 13 degrees Fahrenheit. Feels like 7. Holy shit. See, I cannot complain. I got the window open. Dang. Sorry, y'all.
I know.
I do
I'm
not.
inside all day. Haven't
I
gone out.
I ventured out the front porch and sat outside on the screen porch and got my daily dose of fresh air, but oh Lord, didn't have to battle the uh, blizzard to do it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'd have stayed inside, but I do feel bad for the people who are in the wake of this type of thing.
Yeah.
Ugh,
And I have to
y'all,
have to be
y'all
out
stay
in it.
warm. Ugh, yeah, the ones if you don't have to be, fine, stay home. But there's too many that have to be. Work and all the things,
Hmm.
all the things we are I was going to say we feel are important, but we're told are super important. At all costs, you got to get there. My mama always told me, it's something that stuck with me forever. She always had these weird sayings that you're like, well, you're side eyeing her when she's saying it. Going, what the hell you mean, lady? Don't kill yourself getting there. What's the point?
Right.
Um, she's got a point.
Hmm.
So slow down. It's if you're 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes late and they don't understand it, well, you know what to tell them, right?
Yeah.
Take this job and
Yep.
shove it. Ain't no working here no more. My life ain't.
They're not gonna pay for your car when it's wrecked.
Shit, they're gonna pay for your life. There can't nobody replace the life lost. Y'all be careful. Y'all be
Yeah.
safe. If y'all are forced to go to work, be safe. All right. So, oh my goodness. So, before we get started on what we came here to discuss, Rachel sent me a link earlier. Whoa, let me get this minimized. So, SF Investigates made a post about the Celeste case. Now, watch this. Not going to let me pull anything up. I'm going to be super mad.
Mm.
Are you kidding? What is everybody on the internet right now? Let me see. Twitter is always one of the slowest things. Like, Elon, get your shit together. I can't even get your little fancy satellite internet thingy everybody talks about.
Maybe
You know, I have it
you.
here.
I don't know. Cause my computer's like my laptop's been. Yeah, I had to turn it off and back on because it was wouldn't let me do anything.
Hmm. Did Mercury go in retrograde
I
again?
don't know.
All right. If it's not going to let me pull it up, I can pull it up on my phone. But what it was the search warrant. Let's see. What was it, Rachel? Let me go back. I don't want to tell you what it was wrong. Um, this thing, let me get this thing to pull up that document we need to look at, because in case it takes forever, let it do its thing while I'm sitting here talking. Um, Let me get to it real quick. Okay, I had it pulled up earlier. It was all beautiful. Everything was flying like.
Yeah, mine's doing the same thing.
You're having like internet issues.
Yeah, and I have Google
Hmm.
Google Fiber,
Oh goodness. Anybody else out there experiencing issues as
and
well?
and I don't think it's internet. It's just my laptop, like laggy. Like I'm trying
That,
to
if
click
it's not,
on Windows and it's not letting me do anything.
but that if it's not your internet, then that's just the device
Hmm.
is laggy. But my whole everything is laggy. So like, what's up with the
Yeah,
internet?
yeah.
I'm having to rely on the internet. It's like it's not even wanting to pull up my document folder. Holy cow! What happened here? I will. Let me see. Let me see if this is gonna work. Gee whiz. Mm. Go figure. I can sit here all day going through this thing, picking out what.
And then when you need it, you can't.
Yeah, I've been sitting here reviewing all day,
Frustrating.
taking notes and doing different things, getting other stuff ready to go with it. Yeah, and now I can't even pull the shit up. Okay, hold on, let it do its thing. So what Rachel sent me earlier was a link to one of SF's posts. We talked about that arrest yesterday in the Celeste Rivas case. But this is a search warrant that was served in the case um, by Detective Jason Wild. And let's see. Property or things to be seized consist of any item or constitute any evidence that tends to show a felony has been committed, um, tends to show that a particular person has committed a felony. That box was checked, right? Then you go
Hmm.
down, it says, you are therefore commanded to search, see the incorporated description pages. I'm trying to see what this was, the car, I think. Seize any items found and bring, to the department to incorporate into the probable cause. Let's see. There was no non-disclosure approved, no sealing approved, notice of delay. Okay, let's go to the next page because it's got to be more to this than just the bullshit. Um, Vehicle. Okay, vehicle described as 2023 Tesla Model Y, four-door, black color, bearing the Texas plates, and then they give the plate, but it's redacted. Well, somebody redacted it. The VIN number was there. Department resources revealed the registered owner as David Anthony Burke. Okay, so that's when they discovered the Tesla that she was found in, is his, and they do the search warrant. The vehicle is currently under storage at the official police garage Hollywood in Hollywood. Um, and he signs off on his probable cause expertise on September 8th. Detective advised by official police Garage Hollywood that they had towed the vehicle. Okay, that's all that says. This is not really, they're not telling. You know what I'm saying? Um, okay, here we go. On this page, it says return to the search warrant. And they go through the vehicle description again. It says items seized and items taken. Described below, human remains located. Of course, that box is checked because there were human remains in the car. And that's really all those documents say. Like, there was nothing else in the car on
Right.
the return, like no other. Where's all the other evidence besides just that? Was there anything else in the car? Other DNAs, other people? I don't know. That's a weird search warrant. But he had also made a post about that guy that was arrested, and I felt like he was holding back about that guy that was arrested. But he says that, oh, he 3 hours ago he posted that Neo guy bonded out at 9:41 a.m. this morning, and he's no longer in custody. Okay, somebody paid his bond.
Hmm.
Um, what was the other one that I was looking at this earlier, right before we came on? Oh,
I'll be right
about
back.
his
Okay,
arrest.
I just
Okay, let me. I can't see chat, so let me take this box down. This damn document's still not pulling up. Let me see if I can see chat. Make sure everybody's good. Okay. Okay. Um, so anyway, he says in his this post that the arrest of Neo, her failure to appear to give testimony, which are the exact words used by the sheriff's department when speaking to me, concerns me to a certain extent, assuming this arrest is related to the Celeste case. Well, we mean assuming, Steve. Targets are not typically called to testify in a case. At the state level, target letters, like he's not a main suspect, he wouldn't have been called to testify. He's a witness. Gotcha. A defense attorney would likely argue that any testimony was coerced. What, his grand jury testimony could have been coerced? Um, trying to, I'm trying to dissect this in real time as I read it. That makes me think he is viewed as a witness rather than someone currently being at risk of being charged. Well, I agree with that. Did one person act alone in concealing, or he could incriminate himself along the way accidentally, though? Did one person act alone in concealing the body? So, same questions we all have. So, apparently, he doesn't know, again, if this is the guy who got out of the car the last time, but y'all know. So, this is a little update. So, that guy's out of jail already, out on bond. And, yeah, let me see if I can get this damn document to refresh and pull up. Pull up. That always, when I hear that saying, it reminds me of this case, or that slang term. There was a local case where these two girls got into a fight, I guess,
mhm.
and they were communicating with each other, I guess, on their phones. And so the one girl tells the other girl in their little heated argument, "Well, pull up, bitch." Well, old girl pulled up. Let's just say that she pulled up.
Uh-oh.
The police report states that the assailant, says, well, the victim says pull up, so I pulled up, and we were all dying laughing reading that police report. It's like, oh my god.
That's hilarious. Be careful what you wish for, right? Or
Exactly.
what
Don't
you
tell a bitch to pull up because she just might.
right? Exactly.
You don't never know.
Especially nowadays.
Careful with your words, right?
Mhm.
Okay, let me try to get this damn thing up again because I don't want to have to go. Well, you can't read it the other way. If I go pull it up on a tweak, 'cause it's not. You got to. Well, I could access the Google Drive maybe. I don't know, but I have it right here. It won't load. That's the whole point. Okay, I'm trying to get it to come back up now. Now let me pull chat back up and see who all's here. See what's going on out there. Everybody staying warm and cuddly. Get the fires going and stuff. Um, of Of course, my mod team, welcome in. Butterfly, thanks for coming up and hanging out with us for a little while. Um,
Thank you.
Rachel and Forrest are here with us. Carrie, Teresia, thank you for coming in and chilling with us. Joy, welcome in. Welcome in. Donnie does dishes. Thanks for coming by.
Yep.
I always crack up at his name, right? Donna, welcome in. Jet, hey, what's up? Real happy, always good to see you. You know that. All right, for some reason, this thing is not pulling up. What this is a document that, let me get to the tweet and see if well, if I couldn't pull up Steve's, I'm not going to be able to pull this one up either. Jeez. I guess going to be shut down and come back later tonight and see if shit straightens out. Watch. I don't mind coming back at like 8 o'clock if something don't act right because it's not going to work.
Hmm.
I can't pull up the document. Um, yeah, Twitter's not even working. Hmm.
Really?
No, it's not for me to pull up. Anybody else, y'all? Anybody else out there having issues besides just me? Am I just the hot mess express trying to stream? The little engine that could is what it feels like right now. It's
I
aggravating.
haven't checked any other streams to see if they're having trouble, but um, this is what I told you the issues I'm having, but I don't know.
I may have to come back and stream from my phone like I've done before, but I was able to pull the document up on the computer and read it that way. I can't read it
Hmm.
from my phone, it's just a struggle. So
Yeah.
I've got a nice big phone, but I pulled the documents up on the PC and I read from there, but streamed from the phone and it was fine. I just wasn't able to share the document onto the screen. That's the only thing.
Right.
I have to see. I have to see if I can fix it. Hold on. It's probably just me and my streaming capabilities, and I don't know why when it's telling me I've got a good signal and all the things, and
It could be restream, like you said.
it was acting strange. It's like how can everything work brilliantly until I go to get on Restream? And
Hmm.
when I set this show up, I noticed it wasn't acting right. I had to go delete it and then do it again. And then when we went live, there was issues with that. So here we are. I deleted that one, and here we are again. And I don't
Yeah.
want to go to StreamYard because honestly, I forgot how to use damn StreamYard. I don't. I mean, I could attempt to try it, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, I really could. It might be a a workaround is for me to come back up on StreamYard if it is just a issue here.
Hmm.
But I was able to pull the documents up fluently earlier, no problem. They just fired right up. Now they're not. Okay, Forrest says his X is working okay. Yeah, I think it's just me, the bandwidth, right, that I'm trying to push out by streaming. Plus, I got somebody on panel and I'm trying to pull up documents, and my computer's like I'm on a hot spot,
Let me
lady.
let me drop down and see if that helps before
Well,
you cut the stream.
all right, we can try that, but I don't know that that will help. But let's try it. Let's do that.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I'll see y'all.
She'll
I'll
be
see
in
y'all
chat,
down in
guys.
the chat.
Yeah.
Bye.
Let's see if it takes her down because it won't let me take it. Let's see what happens here. And when the internet's not working right, it won't even let me in the stream properly to get it, to go down. So it appears she's still on the stream with us. So we'll have to wait and see if she falls off. It won't let me take it. It won't let me work it back here. Like, what good are you? There we go. What good are you, Restream, if you don't let me control what's going on here? All right, let me see if that affected anything. Let's see on my screen. There we go. There we go. I think it's now. Let me see if I can pull up a document now. That's sad if that alone had an effect on it, but we'll see. Oh, look, it came right up. Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, Butterfly, chat with me from chat, guys. Y'all know y'all love having her in chat anyway. All right. So We'll see if I can share the screen and get it to work, okay? Let me get my shit together here, get my coffee topped up. Sandy, hey, welcome in. We'll be in the background listening, trying to finish some outside work before dark. Yeah, get her done before the dark and the cold comes. I always look for something to listen to when I'm doing something so I can appreciate those of you who listen to me while you're doing the things, because I get it and I appreciate that because I like doing that. She took one for the team. She did. Bless her heart, man. I love that girl. Okay, let me hold on one second, guys. I should have kept you up, Butterfly, to entertain the crowd for a moment. That's okay. I'll get some coffee in a minute. Let me finish this cup first. My brain was like, get more, and I still have some. So here we go. All right, let me get to the beginning of what this actually is, okay? All right, so friend of the channel here, Sarah Dish, over on Twitter, X, they had a FOIA request out, okay? And this document was not released as part of the unredacted document drop that we've all been reviewing, that has been dropped and waiting on more to come out, right? Remember, they dropped their last set, their last block of documents, 40 something, and then took them back real quick because they didn't redact them properly. This is not part of that bundle. What this is a supplemental. I want to tell you exactly what it is. I have it listed in the description. It's a supplemental reports, basically, where the defense was asking for discovery, and there was a lot of defense filings asking for discovery in this case. They went on and on and on, and it continued to go on all the way up till almost till he pled guilty, right? Which made you believe, well, what's new? What is she discovering now? It felt like that. We were like, there's a lot of why are all these long? What does this keep happening? Well, every time the state would turn over something, and Taylor's a bulldog. Well, I need more. I need this to go with that. This report. She's got all the things. This report gives us a lot of insight into all the things that crime scene related. And I need to put up a banner. I told Butterfly this before we went live, and look, we both didn't. She didn't remind me, and I didn't remind myself. Can I blame it on my mod? Oh, Butterfly, can I blame it on my producer? It's just like, girl, don't you dare. You didn't tell me to remind you, because I would have. That's what she'd say to me. You didn't tell me to remind you. You just said you were gonna do it. All right. Um, Let me add one real quick. Okay. With that said, this includes my mods. Some of these topics will get heavy. We're going to try to do this with the most respect that we can possibly do it. But if this is too heavy for some of you, you can step away. I will not get descriptive. The document doesn't get super descriptive. It does about the crime scene, and so does the defense attorney. I mean, the defense expert witness. Um, but I just want to give you guys that warning. So let me get this up real quick. 1 second. Hey, hold on, guys. Let me see if it's working. Look, it's like a speed demon. Hold on. Okay. All right. So that's up. So it's just a warning, graphic content description. This is true crime, and we're all adults, and we're going to talk about some things that are heavy. And it just reminded me And I honestly took a pause as I was reading through this stuff earlier today. And I let it sink in for a minute. That monster and what these victims actually suffered. It's a shame that they weren't sleeping, because I can imagine the amount of terror that they actually felt. And that's wild. I mean, it's. And so we're going to try to do this with, handle this with grace for the victims. All right. Let me make this larger so I can see. All right, guys. So that we're not going to read the entire thing because it's 155 pages worth of document here. But it goes through different Exhibit S1 all the way up through, I believe it's 13. So I got some highlights that I took notes on earlier, and we'll probably have to do this in a couple of uh, unpack it. You know what I mean? Maybe come back in the morning and do a part 2 and do some things. Um, it's still early for me. It's only 4:30 in the afternoon, so I got some time on my hands. So I'm going to be here a minute. So if y'all want to get comfy and do this with us, well, I appreciate it. If you have to go later, thank you for coming in. All right, everybody. So Exhibit S1 started with an amended supplemental expert disclosure for Jenny Ayers. And Jenny is just, she's one of the forensic scientists that works for the ISP. And basically, she was going to go over the processing a crime scene, right? There was nothing in that disclosure right there that meant anything except and making sure we're doing this right. So they explain what they do at a scene to collect evidence in DNA and biological evidence. And she would have testified to that. How they handle potential DNA materials, different things, all the technical things we have to sit there and listen to them talk about for an hour before testimony begins, all that. Okay, so if we go ahead to this one on page 3, it says, effort is made to ensure that items are preserved as found. Now, this is the prosecution's filing, I believe, right? So all this is what, and they're going to also be citing the defense stuff in here as well. So effort is made to ensure that items are preserved as found. The type and size of packaging are determined based on the evidence. Cigarette butt, paper evidence envelope. Remember there was a cigarette butt or two? Um, Paper note, receipt, paper evidence. They go through the list, right? The computer electronic components, and how they receive them in the paper envelopes and bags. The larger items like computer towers and the monitors that do not fit into standard evidence bags may be identified with an evidence tag. Okay, the nitro type glove that was inside of paper evidence envelope, and a vacuum dust container. Now, it's normal and routine to take that from vacuum cleaners, of the crime scene, of the suspects' homes, things like that. But we also can't forget there was a fireman with a vacuum. I can't. I'm kind of like that FBI agent. We're both salty. I caught that butterfly. We salty like the FBI lady. Or no, she's salty like me because I believe I might be older. Yeah. Presumptive blood tests are chemical tests that are used to distinguish possible blood stains. So she goes through the different techniques there. They're not specific, so I'm not going to read her whole entire thing because we got so much more to get to that's important. Okay, this moves into the Nick Balance of it all. Nick Balance was the FBI cast agent who was slated to testify in this case. Remind yourselves, he was also the FBI cast agent who testified in the Lori Vallow trial and Chad Daybell trials. There's entire videos of his testimony out there explaining cast reports and drive time test and how they pinpointed Alex Cox within feet of the burn pit in the backyard of Chad Daybell's house where victims were later discovered. That guy. He was set to testify and go up against Cy Ray. My money might have been on Nick Balance because I knew a little something something already. So interestingly enough, let's see what Nick's report might have said. What this document's telling us is what we would have heard at trial, right? Who's going to get up there and talk about DNA? Experts. Touch or transfer? Experts. Who's going to get up there and talk about that grainy car footage and how you cannot tell what kind of car that is? Experts. Who's going to get up there and testify that guy's mental health status? All those experts Anne had to get a hold of. And phone data experts, right? To dispute why that phone was turned off. And I still think that Heather Bernhardt's just dying to know how he achieved that one thing. How did you get that one past me, dude? I gotta know. I could see it in her eyes, man. She's like, gimme, gimme, gimme. Exhibit S2 was the amended supplement expert disclosure for Nicholas Balance. The state has previously disclosed Nick Balance, Special Agent SA from the Federal Bureau of Investigations, an expert in the field of historical cell site analysis. The state hereby incorporates its previous responses and attachments filed on December 18th of 2024 and February 16th of 2025. They're continuously adding supplemental reports, right? This crime occurred in 2022. We got a report in 2024 and another one generated in 2025, and hereby supplementing those responses as follows. I remember that day Anne stood in court and she said, I have everything on the car. The judge said, everything on the car, everything on the car, everything on the car, Your Honor. I was like, oh, she knows. And then she said, I have all of the reports from the cast, but I want all them FBI emails and notes too. And the judge is like, oh, lady, you know how they are over there at the FBI. She's like, I do, but I really want it. I was like, I'm here for it, Anne. Will they give it to her or not? No. Balance will test. Yeah, sorry for my side commentary. If it bothers you, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. It's hard for me to read a document straight through and not have something to say. Um, hey, and if y'all disagree, that's cool. Tell me in chat and we'll debate about it. Like, for real. As long as we're respectful of one another, right? Balance will testify as an expert and will testify and answer questions about a summary exhibit, which is known as the CAS report attached as State's Exhibit S2B to December 18th, 2024 filing. Back and forth with the paper in the court to death, pursuant to the Idaho codes. Okay, let's get down to what he was going to testify about. A significant portion of Balance's testimony will relate to the present evidence pursuant to Idaho code, and they name the code, which allows the introduction of summary evidence to aid the jury in the examination of testimony. So we're going to bring in our visual aids. Okay. And they're talking about that. Okay, so let's go down to here. All right, pursuant to the Idaho code, evidence has provided or duplicates for the contents of the voluminous records to defense as follows. Voluminous records to the defense. So here's like, Dan's like, oh my God, all this stuff. Hey, look, Forrest coming in hot and gifting out some memberships. Thank you, Forrest. Thank you. I appreciate that. True Grit. Welcome in, girl. Sit up, bounce, and switch. What the hell? Y'all have some crazy names that I love. Y'all like us to say them. We sound crazy. Right, Buffy, Sylvia, Tobeans, Rosebud. Welcome in, all of you, to the lead investigators, Purple Angel and Sarah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank y'all all for being here. I hope everybody's enjoying the show. Y'all sit back and relax. We got a long one to go into. So they got this descriptions here of the discovery. AT&T records for Brian Koberger and some hard drives, and they got the date discovered. And then they got AT&T records for Maddie and Xana. regarding Balance's final cast report. Up there with that wishy-washy, well, I program and I plugged this in, and the FBI gave me that, and I plugged that in, and it wouldn't read this, and I plugged that in, and then I had to call. I'm like, dude, can we put him away and bring me Nick Balance? Mallory's just plugging in shit to a program that Cyre created. I don't fucking know. All right. Regarding Balance's final cast report, the following testimony is anticipated in conjunction with the presentation of the report. Pages 2 through 5 will serve as visual aids for Balance to explain how cellular technology works. And he's not as boring as some of them data dudes from that long Karen Reed trial. The salt shaker lady and the data dudes, holy moly. Nick's not boring like that. He's well spoken. And I've listened to both experts in this case who were going to testify against one another, not really against one another, but y'all know, one for the defense over here, we got Cyre, and over here we got Balance for the prosecution. And I've listened to both of them without noise of what I'm supposed to be hearing, right? I just want to go listen and evaluate these guys for myself. I was far more impressed with Nick Balance, and that's kind of unexpected for me. um, can y'all hear me in the chat? Butterfly, you got me confused. Hold on. Okay. I just had a text that came in, and I think it came in later than it was in. Okay. If not, I'm super confused. Okay. Um, so he's got his visual aids to explain the technology of how the cellular technology works. Uh, Butterfly, Chris, can you? I don't know if she's having issues. I feel like she might be the one having all the issues. She's on a delay, and she's already said her devices weren't working right earlier. What's going on in Texas? The grid's already starting to collapse. Holy cow. Okay. Because now that she's not on the panel anymore, everything's working right, and she's not hearing me in real time either, apparently. So I want to make sure all you guys are. Like something's amiss. We gotta investigate. All right. Pages 2 through 5 are his visual aids. So can you get up? So you get these guys up there to explain how the cell towers work, and how their antennas branch out in these directions, and pings go out, and the all the things. All right, so let's get down to here. Um, so he's going to specifically, page 6 serves as a legend to depict how cellular phone records analyzed in this case will be represented on a map. So they're going to have these phone locations on these maps, specifically for phones associated with Brian Koberger, Madison Mogen, and Santa Krenodal. Those three. On this presentation. Page 7 shows examples of call information boxes that are used throughout the report and explains what each record in the box represents. Balance will explain how this information comes from the records obtained from the provider, and they are simply transferred here to show. So they obtain the record from the provider. It shows this phone was here, or using this cell tower here, and then they're placing that on the map for the visual. Excellent. Page 8 depicts an example of how drive test data previously discussed will be represented on a map to indicate the coverage of a specific cell site. Now, Anne wanted to make sure that that little box that they put in the back seat of the car, because I heard Nick give a descriptive detail of what they do. She's like, I need to know that little box was calibrated. Like, oh, baby girl, because if it was off by a little tiny bit, then that throws off our whole analysis, right? I'm taking it was calibrated fine. That's my final conclusion. I had concerns. I'm like, this chick is good. She's going after everything. I had some mad respect for Ann Taylor. I did. I throw a lot of shade her way, but she wasn't. She was not a bad defense attorney. She just couldn't be a, whatever. Couldn't beat it, man, in the end. 8 pages depicts an example of how drive test data was previously. Okay, so 9 represents locations of interest provided to balance during this investigation, and the icon will be used to represent on the maps. The red icon, they're going to label it CS, that's the crime scene, and BK will be labeled, his apartment will be labeled BK on the map. CS and BK on a map in the courtroom. It'd be like Page 10 is a map of Moscow, Idaho, and Pullman. Balance will use this map to depict the locations of interest from page 9, as well as to show where the towers were located in the form of blue circles. So they'll go down the Pullman Moscow highway, I bet, and show where all the towers were in between his apartment and the crime scene. And they'll have those depicted. And he's pinging here, 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 and here on the way, and then he goes offline. Okay. Page 10 is that map of, okay, we read that one. Page 11 represents the subscriber sheet associated with the 58 phone number. The highlight of this phone, of course, that was Brian's phone. Okay. Page 12 depicts phone usage from his phone, and Balance is expected to testify that the usage indicates general movement from the phone number from the area of West Yellowstone, Wyoming to Pullman, and that is June 30th of 2022. That is Brian Koberger arriving in Pullman, Washington. They got his cell phone data showing it from West Yellowstone, Wyoming to Pullman. Here I come. Page 13 depicts cellular phone usage by the phone number on November 13th, and Balance is expected so they could tie. He had that number rolling into town, right? It's already tied to him right there. Now here he is on the 13th, that same phone number associated with the suspect. Depicts cellular phone usage by 8458 phone on November 13, 2022, and Balance is expected to testify that when the phone interacted with the AT&T network at 2:47:29 a.m., the phone was not at the Koberger residence. Okay, so the time was 2:47 at that point. So he's not at the residence anymore, but he's on the move. Rather, it was southeast, of his residence as depicted by the drive test data. So they would go take their little car and their little device, go to his apartment and drive the speed limit and try to, in the conditions that they think would have occurred, to see how long that actually would take before you got to this sector, right? That's how they conduct their drive test. How long did that take in reality versus what we think? But he's expected to testify that the number interacted with the network at 2:47, and he was southeast of the residence as depicted on the drive test data. Balance is also expected to testify that he analyzed additional handoff data that occurred during this data session, and that the number stopped communicating with the network at 2:54:45 a.m., just before 3 a.m., which we've always known the phone was offline from 3 to 5 a.m. Page 14 provides time period that the number did not communicate with the AT&T network during the early morning hours of the 13th of November. 15 depicts interactions that the phone had with AT&T network on the 13th starting at 4:48 a.m., consistent with the phone being south of Moscow. And that's how they determined that he left going in that direction. versus coming into Moscow from Pullman through via the Pullman Moscow highway out there. He goes out the back way, which we would call the back way, I guess, through the countryside, because that is south of the Moscow where his phone pings. So it makes sense that's the direction he went. Would you conclude that's the direction the guy went? Right, all of a sudden there's that phone south of Moscow. That means he wasn't going the other direction. And they even looked out toward Troy in opposite directions looking for videos of this white car, like everywhere, like the one they see right next to the home. Every way out of town, they were looking for footage to see if they could see this car leaving in any direction. We saw that in other documents too, how far out they was actually trying to go to pick which way he went. But you got the phone saying this, right? South of Moscow. This thing is so jumpy sometimes. Let me go back up because this is some of the important stuff. Um, uh, Sorry, guys. It's like boom, boom, boom. It went way too far that time. So sensitive. Okay. So this one shows that 16 through 18 shows general movement of the phone number on the 13th, consistent with traveling from south of Moscow to Pullman and ultimately using a cell site that provides coverage to the residents. So once he gets back closer to home, that's when the phone comes back online. And everybody's like, well, why would you have the phone off? He could have gotten lost going that way. Do I really believe this guy never drove that route ever? He liked to drive around and look at the moon and stars, and said once it got too cold and he really couldn't go sit out and look at the moon and stars anymore, he decided to start riding around more. So I figured he already drove that route and gave it a test run. Didn't need to get the GPS on to show me how to get back home. I know it's pretty much a straight shot. I don't think I'd have got lost once I did it once. And if you got that burner phone, then hell, you're good. Don't know that he had one, but I'm just saying. There's ways to work around not getting lost out there. Down to 27 degrees. Stop it. Stop it. That's crazy. It's like 63 degrees here. Like, it's not coming to me until tomorrow. Mm. Okay, so page 19 through 22 show the general movements of the phone number associated with the Koberger account. Okay, consistent with departing Pullman, Washington, and traveling to Moscow, then returning back to the cell site that provides the coverage. So they'll show, the PCA, sketchy as it may be at times, when I broke down, like just turned off everything that else it said and wrote down what time they said this phone pinged and what time they claimed it was seen on video, it was like matching up. I really had to sit down all the other nonsense I was reading, but that part right there stood out to me from the beginning. I was like, can they prove that? This car is here on a video camera and the phone is pinging at the same time? That double places that guy there, in my opinion. It maybe depends on the expert. But to me, that was a key thing from the PCA that people got lost because they were like, it's a word salad and don't make sense. It did if you broke it down in that way and just focused on those two things and wrote down the very specifics on those things. They freaking matched up, and I was like, they could show a pattern of him leaving the apartment, really, right, and going down the highway toward Moscow until he goes offline. At the time, we didn't know who the well, once the PCA came out, we knew who it was, but they were like, we don't know who it was. All right. So then they have another one, another few pages here. The general movements consistent with traveling from Pullman to Lewiston on the 13th. So from Pullman back over to Lewiston, remember he goes back later that day in the afternoon after the killings. And we now have seen video footage that's been released of him at the stores over there. So they got him traveling back over to Lewiston through phone records. And then video to back it up that he's look, he's in these stores. Page 25 depicts times when 84, and all that video does is back up the accuracy of the phone records. Depicts times that the phone number has had historical periods of no interaction with the AT&T network from the 23rd of June through the 13th of November for more than 1 hour and 45 minutes, including this analysis. So there's like the chunk of an hour 45 minutes that the phone in total didn't communicate with the network from June to November. Hour and 45 minutes from June to November. What is that supposed to even mean? I'm unpacking it in real time in my head. Like, I don't know yet what that means yet. I gotta think more about that. I can't decide when I read stuff like that, I can't decide am I prosecutor in the moment or defense attorney. Damn it, man. The struggle. Page 26 and 27 show the usage of phones associated with Maddie Mogan and Xander Kernodle during the morning of the 13th of November, during times when evidence indicates that both phones were inside the residence. Idaho depicted the crime scene as the CS on the images of the map. Okay. These pages will be used to highlight that the drive test data is consistent with the locations of both of the cell phones when evidence shows their location inside the home. And that's basically going through that stuff. Balance will explain that he conducted analysis of the 100 meter radius. Why can I say it? Page 28 map that includes 1122 King Road, um, represented by the CS icon, and a yellow circle that represents a 100-meter I want to say meteor for some reason, 100-meter radius around the crime scene. Balance will explain that he conducted analysis of all the cell sites in the area that provided coverage to the crime scene, and identified any cell sites that drive tests showed average that included this 100-meter radius around the crime scene. On the other pages, they talk about that the phone utilized a cell site identified as part of A. Okay, this occurred between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. 23 separate instances from July to November. So now they're citing 23 different times. Remember, we heard that early on in one of the date lines, the very first date line, it was 12 pings near the home, 12 times near the home. And it was like, what the hell, where'd you get that from? Turns out it was true, according to this. And then this came out a while back. It was really 23 times, right? So Nick's going to testify to this between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m., all right, from July 9th. Now, remember, this guy gets there at the beginning of July, end of June, he's rolling into town. Within 9-10 days, you're already on the hunt. Super quick. So it makes me wonder. That challenges one of my own theories. I gotta freshen my coffee on that and ponder for a moment. July 9th. It's my daughter's birthday. Damn. That was pretty quick. If okay, in my mind, is near that particular home. Was he casing out homes that quickly? He was already onto that home as a potential. just my theory. Balance will testify that the phone number used cell sites consistent with being at the crime scene during these times and dates. Balance will further testify that the hours between 10 to 4 were identified by the investigation team as hours of interest. Um, hmm. Remember, he can't sleep, so there's a pattern of him being awake at night, right? He was always got the insomnia and can't sleep. So 10 to 4, um, he was probably active. And of course, you want to go, if you're not technically stalking, because we all know there's a different law in every state for the term and what the definition. Under Idaho law, he could not legally be called stalking. Now, over there in Washington, where that big lawsuit was filed against WSU, they got a different standard to meet stalking, right? So over here, he's just surveilling. We can call it that. 23 times, in fact, from July to November at night, because you probably planned your attack to be at night. So why not go surveil at night under the cloak of darkness? All right. So Nick was coming in with some testimony on this phone, and if they can really get a jury to say to believe this data is accurate, right? This phone is pinging at this location, like a business marker in this tower sector, right? And this business also right here captures that car on camera, what we believe to be the suspect's car at the same time. You determine if it's the same car or not based on this cell phone data and this image of this car, right? What would y'all say? Would y'all be like, that really looks like his car? You know, I'm pretty convinced that's his phone. And they're at the same time, yeah, I'd probably be on board. Forrest is giving out some knowledge and good advice. Get yourself a blanket and get some cocoa butterfly and get cozy. Still got power? Everybody got power? Everybody good? All right. So before we go into Taylor here, I'm going to grab my coffee super quick. Um, it won't take but a second. But okay, hold on. I'm not done yet. Maybe. I don't know. Let's see what we got here. What is this? It may not work. I don't know. Y'all hear that? Okay, I'm back. Was that, could y'all hear that? Was it annoying? I don't know. Let me, okay, let me get this banner down. Okay, now we're good. A cocoa float. Interesting. All right, are we still good in chat? Y'all can still hear me and see the screen and all the things, right? Let me move this over. I was listening outside. It sounded like thunder for a second. I'm like, it's not even raining. What's going on? But it wasn't thunder. It was something else. Okay. Somebody in chat with a thumbs up if you can hear me. Hmm. Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. It's just a damn minute for it to respond to me in chat. Not y'all. It just is delayed, and I'm like, I don't know, and I'm not going to keep reading if nobody can hear me. Thank you, thank you. All right. Taco soup and Mexican cornbread. That doesn't that sound freaking good? Oh my god, that sounds really good. You're gonna give me some like inspiration now. Dang. Okay. So this one, this is Taylor. Maychak, I think is her name. She's a forensic scientist also with the ISP. And she was going to come in and speak about the trash collection and the DNA. We all know they did the trash pull from Brian Koberger's parents' home, right? Um, they had the DNA from the sheath. It's developed at ISP lab. Then it's sent over to Othram. Othram goes through the front door legally and searches a few databases. GEDmatch and such. Nothing's coming back except for some brothers, some cousins, distant cousins, right? That's it. FBI takes over. FBI can do a little more because, well, they're the FBI, and they did. And it come back, you know, toward, well, it came back Brian Koberger. So at the same time they were trying to get that IgG information going, they say they didn't know Koberger until they got that. So why would you be doing trash pulls over there? You know, it's a whole thing. So that all that aside, they do a trash pull, and when they pull the DNA, they actually sent a trash truck in there. Cops were on it. They retrieved it and they took it back to the ISP lab. So they go through it and they discover that Q-tip, right? And when they did the testing on that Q-tip, it came back that it was the high probability to be the father of the DNA from that sheath, right? So bingo, daddy's DNA. But where was the assailant's DNA, right? And they recovered another partial from the trash pull that also matched back to dad of a Duncan cup. So she's going to come in and talk about, and that was what her job would have been. And that was some of the highlights were about that. It's down to page 11, I think it was. Let me, oh, watch it. You better pull up correctly. Pull up correctly or don't pull up at all. Oh, Lord. There we go. I shouldn't threaten it, probably. It might pull up. Okay. Um, so here she talks about their analytical methods of the case workings. Here we go, down here. She will explain the partial DNA profile obtained from item 1.3, which indicates a mixture of DNA from at least two individuals, at least one of which is male. However, due to low level results, no comparison could be made. She'll explain the mixture of DNA obtained from item 1.4. Now, you would expect to have some mixtures on some of the items recovered from the crime scene, the bedrooms, because I've got two victims in each room and it's a bloody mess. And they're side by side in one of the beds, right? So I'd expect some mixtures to be occurring. Um, so she comes in and goes through that. Additionally, she will explain how the DNA STR profile was generated from item 87.1, which is the Q-tip swab, right? Um, this is a Q-tip swab from the the police department where they had the trash. Okay, which was taken from the trash from the Coburger residence. Um, she determined the DNA profile obtained from 87.1 was from an unknown male, ultimately deemed as male E. So at this point, they get the Q-tip DNA and they smell E. It's not the sheath DNA, though, right? And then they conclude that male E was not the source of the DNA previously obtained from item 1.1, which is the sheath. However, she was able to conclude that from the DNA profile obtained from the item 87.1, the male E that they obtained from item 1.1, which they identified as male A, male E cannot be excluded as being the biological father of male A. So male A would have been the sheath DNA. So they couldn't exclude him from being the father of that other one. A and B here. We won't name names, but we got A and B. Welcome in, Simi Sharp. Welcome in, Sandy Hay. Donna, welcome. All right. Thank y'all for coming in, everybody. We are unpacking this document that was gotten from a FOIA request someone put in on the Idaho 4 case. About supplemental reports on certain exhibits, S1 through S13. And we're kind of just going through that now. Okay, so the biological father of male A, she made this conclusion using the single percentage index. And then they go through all of that and give you the percentages and all the things that are associated with that you would have heard in court. This conclusion can be found in Report 17. The single percentage index is a statistical value that compares two probabilities. The probability of seeing the child's genetic information if a tested individual is the biological parent of the child versus if random individual, either man or woman, from the population is the presence. Oh, good night. The calculation only uses 1% for comparison. Half your DNA is obtained from your mother and the other half your father. So they're going to go through all the explanations of how we get the DNA into our bodies to start with. All right. They compared several items in this case, including more items listed in Report 17. They discussed the partial profile of 93.1, which was the swab of the Dunkin' cup lid, being consistent with male E. So that would have been the father, right? So he must have had him a Dunkin' coffee. Maychek may also explain low levels of male DNA or presence of male DNA on other reports. And they're going to be talking about that because the defense attorney is going to be like the absence of evidence in the car, the absence of his DNA in the garbage. All these things are exculpatory or, show he's not the guy. So then they go into Exhibit S4. And this one is from Tara Martinez. She's also a forensic scientist that worked there for the ISP as well. And all she really is going to talk about is those latent prints. And my goodness, ma'am, we need to talk about that one right in front of that door threshold. How old is that? Is that the only, literally the only one in the whole entire house? And what about them paw prints upstairs? Any more of those in the house? I got questions for this lady. But anyway, we won't get to see her testify. No trial. So she's also going to go through her little stuff here. All right. Be expected to testify regarding her involvement in this case, specifically when obtaining buccal swab from Koberger. Martinez also claimed she also got his hair sample fingerprints, and then further description of this can be found in the Haley Yingling report. So they're collecting his DNA. If they're collecting all that, do you think they got that in Pennsylvania when he was arrested? To wait till he got back. How fast did they swab that dude's cheek when they slapped the zip ties on him? He didn't even get real handcuffs in the beginning. Mm, I just thought about that. He got zip tied instead. Damn. Did they see what he did to those people? To those victims? I think I'd have used real cuffs. The Pennsylvania State Police boys, they are brave. All right. Wow. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Okay. I had to deal with the cat for a second. All right. When my cat saw me pick up my headset earlier, and I thought, well, I know she hears my voice when I'm streaming. Wonder what does she wonder who I'm talking to? Just like my owner talks to herself. All right. Sandy, I would like to take full credit for finding those paw prints, but it wasn't me. I actually saw the post on Reddit, but I had to go see if it was actually, it's Reddit. I venture in there from time to time, for sleuthing purposes and stuff. But I caught wind it was out there, right? So I had to go look. Then I went straight to the actual the dump of the photos that we had that I had saved, and pulled that up, and there it was, right? So then I made what we did last night. I wanted to point that, highlight it to show everybody, so it could really be seen. But yeah, I think we were all in agreement that it does appear to be the dog's paw prints, though. When they were deposited there and housed, different story, right? We don't know. Oh, if you ever don't be low on iron. Good night. I've had to go and get iron infusions before. It's not. I mean, you just lay there and take it, but the 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 reaction the body has when you have critically low iron is not good. So if you got low iron, do what you need to do. I just looked down and saw that comment. My body will start craving things that are high in iron. My mama always told me this too. Your body's going to crave what it needs. You know what I mean? If you're craving an orange juice, or if you're craving an orange and you're like, where'd that come from? Your body needs it. That kind of thing. Um, I'll crave vegetables I know that are high without even thinking about it. I'm like, what if that's like straight up iron? Like, go eat it because my body's probably needing it. All right, so now we got the samples were collected. Um, and she's going to testify regarding to her involvement in the case of the collection process. She will explain the process of collecting the buccal swab and the purpose of the collection. So I guess the jury has to be told, we needed to make sure he matched that sheath, right? We got to swab the inside of his mouth. And they go through the whole process of how that's done. All right. So then they say buccal swabs are found on the inside of a person's cheek, and they go through that to be compared to unknown DNA samples from a crime scene. Martinez may discuss latent prints, why they are important in forensic setting or investigation. Yes, they could be very important. Latent prints or are impressions of friction or skin patterns on a surface when contact is made. The term latent refers to prints that are not visible prior to utilizing development method. Latent prints are often made up of various matrices, including sweat, oils, and colorless that are colorless and require development. So they're going to go through the process of how they develop the fingerprints and latent prints and the preservation methods and all of that. So then they go through how they analyze it. And there was really not a lot in her report, the standard explanation of things. It was really these next ones coming up that, let's see, who is it? Paulette Sutton. She's a crime scene reconstruction and blood stain pattern analysis. This goes on forever. Okay, let's go to page 20 document. Whoa. Oh, hold on. Let's see if it'll do its thing. Okay. Are we good in chat? Let's see. Green olives. Ooh, I don't like. That's one thing I don't care for. Well, that and mushrooms. I don't know. Ugh. I don't know if it's the texture or what it is, but I'll crave like greens, like turnip greens, collard greens, like anything. Like, oh man, if I'm low on iron, I'll like just give me. I want it bad. I'll feel better too after I eat something high in iron content. So this is um, Exhibit S9, and this is an amended supplemental expert disclosure from Paulette Sutton. So sorry that my phone's on silent, but when my kid's on the move, it still comes through. I love that though. All right. The state has previously disclosed Paulette Sutton has an expert in the field of crime scene reconstruction and bloodstain pattern analysis. The state hereby incorporates its responses and attachments filed. This is back in December of 2024, and then again on the 25th, 2025, February 16th, supplementing those responses as follows. Because their defense attorney, their defense expert, he had some big ideas about what occurred in that home. Okay. The state is attaching a revised report of T. Paulette Sutton, revised on the 13th of February, 2025. The revised report includes a basis for the revised report, which details the revisions in the report. Let's get into what the report says. Okay. It's rebuttal testimony in response to Matt Nodell and Brent Turvey. Those two were working for the defense team, okay? Turvey apparently is a pathologist as well as a crime scene reconstructionist. And I didn't know this until I did some research earlier into who, because I kind of did some preliminary research into these experts a long time ago, right? So I knew he had this and that out there. But as I researched more today, I didn't realize he had been on a YouTube channel. Actually, he has a YouTube channel. And he's actually done an interview with another YouTube channel. I was like, whoa. It was what's it called? A True Crime with Sarge. He was a guest on there one time. Okay. So we have Matt Nodell and Brent Turvey. Definitions for technical terms referenced throughout this report. And absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Oh, the word salad in that. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Okay. In addition, the state is attaching a copy of the presentation which the state intends to introduce to aid Sutton in the presentation of her testimony. and this will be Exhibit S9B. All right, so this report is, I think, where things will get started get a little graphic, guys. It tells you a little more details and stuff. Okay, and this gives us just the basis for their revised report. Um, it was originally issued in 2024, and now it's being revised in 2025. Evidence list received via email from Officer Timothy Smallridge, Moscow Police Department. And they're going to go through all the evidence they received and took in. Okay. Additional, in addition of rebuttal to reports by the defense experts, Matt Nodell and Brent Turvey, they also looked at address any discrepancies in the DNA testing results related to the following stains identified in the original report issued August 29, 2024. And that was be described by Nodell. In the report, okay, so this is where it was like chain of custody. Did you test the right things, or you got all the things right? And Odell reported that the numbers on the placards depicted in the scene photographs were not the same as the sample numbers used when the evidence was submitted to the laboratory for testing. One needed to increase the placard's number by 6 to correlate to the intake number used when samples were submitted to the lab for testing. To confirm this observation, I requested the original evidence log from the Moscow Police Department. That was done on February 10th, 2025, and compared the information to the laboratory worksheets. Mr. Nodell's observation does appear to be correct, so the laboratory results for several stains were amended. Okay, so they had to come back in and amend it because the defense expert found something that was not like your testing's wrong, but you got this is all wrong. You know, this number don't go with this, that's not going to fly. So stain F on the beer pong table in the living room. It says results corrected. What does that mean? Just the number, you know, the corresponding numbers. So stain F. So they're saying, are they saying there was a? Remember we were looking at the crime scene photos and the blood on the ping pong table. You could see it. Um, yes, Simi. Yes, Simi Sharp. You are. She's a huge fan of Sarge, and yes, I was surprised, girl. I was like, oh, he's on. He was a guest on Sarge's show. Wow. I have that saved. If we can get to it, we'll take a look at it. If we can get it to play. Um, but I'm sure you'll be able to find it now that I've said that. It's Brent Turvey is the guest over on that show that he did. Okay, so apparently there was stain F was identified as on the beer pong table in the living room. Stain at the play card 48 in Mogan's bedroom door. Remember we saw the on the door jam when it was open, like somebody grabbed the door with their, and then there was also a couple of spots on the door itself. Stain at place card 42 on Madison's door. This is a stain at placard on the handrail of the stairs from third to second floor. And then this one is placard 35 was in the desk in Xana's room. This one was 36 on the exterior of Xana's bedroom door. So exterior of Xana's door. Remember when I told you we were looking at that one photo and it's like the door is open and there is blood on the outside of that door on the exterior. Was it open? That's how it got there when she was being attacked, or was it shut? You know, and the attack started before she got in there. Number 37 was on the floor of Xana's bedroom near the bedroom door. Okay. So then 4 here says delete original conclusion 6 from our original report dated August 29, 2024 to erroneous DNA results from stain F on the edge of the beer pong table. Erroneous DNA results. What in the world? The original conclusion read a single spatter stain attributed to the blood of Xanacronodal located on the edge of the west side of the table on the second level indicates that she sustained an injury in this area. There is no physical evidence to indicate that that a significant amount of bleeding occurred in this area is retracted. So originally, they believe Xana's attack started near that ping pong table because there's blood there. But the lack of a lot of blood, they now conclude no. Further down the hallway it started, closer to her room. What do y'all think about that? Yes, the Joy, he didn't. Man, he was riding around. He saw the damn DoorDash driver while Molly is out there. He is literally back there on Walenta creeping by, but this time he doesn't come into the neighborhood because he sees Molly down there. You can see it all from Walenta. So did he really think 10 minutes time they were asleep? Or am I wrong and he missed Molly completely? Didn't even see her at all. Had no fucking clue, right? Dumb as dirt, dude. Like, what? Molly missed him by like seconds. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing is crazy, right? I always debunk my own theories. I'll be thinking one way and then I'll think another way in a minute. One of y'all will say something and I'm like, damn, that makes sense too. Now we got to explore that. Yeah. Ugh. Okay, so they're now concluding that maybe not. Okay. Observation 8 regarding the screening test conducted on the debris from the third floor bedroom floor is amended. Debris. Are we talking leaves, dirt, particles, debris? That's not blood stain, right? Bodily fluids. We got debris. Is amended to reflect the weekly positive O-tolidine test when examined at the lab. Okay, I don't have any hiccups all of a sudden. Jeez. Sorry. I don't know what that is. And I feel I should not be distracted by what's happening out there in the street outside my window, but I did. All right. Opinion 10 is added to the report regarding speculation about secondary footwear transfer stains. Opinion 10 is added to the report regarding speculation about secondary footwear transfer stains. What is secondary footwear? Primary footwear, secondary footwear, something over the primary footwear? Like those surgical booties they put on? Huh. Even the booty would leave a pattern behind if there was it on the booty. I mean, gee, I would think. I don't know. Opinion is added regarding the speculation of it. Okay, well, maybe they'll get into it more. All right, so here's about more of the items they examined. This is going to give you an idea of how many images were taken in this home scene. November 6, 2023, they received a Seagate 1 terabyte portable storage device from Latah County Prosecuting Attorney's Office via the FedEx ground office. Okay, the storage device was password protected, and the password associated with this hard drive was sent via a separate email from Ms. Jennings on October 31st of 2023. It contained on this device was, all right, so one, a crime scene photographs, ISP scene photos taken on January 6, 2023. There were just 10 images there. Then you move into January, same year, 2023, there's 25 images. The initial crime scene, remember we were talking about that in chat, Butterfly, or yesterday we were talking about that, about how many were probably taken. So it says on the 13th, the initial crime scene, 497 images. Then On the 14th, they had an additional 29. The 17th through the 18th, 999 images, another 1481, and then another 37. And they go on and on. 133, 11, 19, 20, and 22. They added another 133. Then scene photos from the 23rd in a certain folder, there was 21 images, another 36, another 11. And here they got Nunez body cam entered. All right, now, to me, this was just a little telling just because of the documentation that's involved with it. They're going to start talking about the autopsies now, guys. There's no full report here. It's not gruesome and descriptive, but warning, it does tell us what happened, right? But not graphic, just stuff. It's just, it is what it is. I got the banner rolling. And I'll, if I come across something that's like real bad, I won't, I'll come up with something. And I got to be careful because YouTube's damn tools detects me saying one word too many times. And it's like, wait a minute. But then upon further review, they're like, oh yeah, you're cool. It's like, but it's annoying. It happens all the time. And I had to deal with it yesterday's show. So I'm going to try to make sure I don't have to do it today. Autopsy reports and photographs. Ethan Chapin's autopsy report contained 229 images. Kaylee's contained 314 images. Maddie's had 274. When you get to Xana's, there were 654 images. Why so many more? That alone tells you something. It does me. Well, we can see from the crime scene photos what went down in her bedroom. That means she had far more wounds than anybody else that they had to document. And they go through the reports of all the individuals that were in there, and they name them all, and I'm not going to sit here and read all of them. It's long. Okay, this one was amended and replaced with Miller's, I guess, a supplemental report Miller had to do. And then they cite when the non-dissemination order was revised. Now they're moving into the other evidence they looked at. Well, there's 250 images here. Apartment during the site inspection on December 21st, the following additional files were provided. And then they obtained this, then they got these. This is Exhibit 46. So there were 250 images in one folder, 411 in one, and 20 in another. And those are all photographs from the search of his apartment. We've seen a lot of those, and there was like the weird fake cards that he got. Hyundai Elantra search photographs. There were 634 of the car. The family home search had 327 images. Can we get those 327 images in an additional FOIA request? Are my friends on that? Because I really want them. There was an image. There was on the search warrant return from the Koberger house, a photograph was taken of an item in the home, but the item was left in the home. But the picture was entered into evidence. I want to know what that was. I want to see all 327 images of that home being searched. It's called Sunshine Laws. You should adopt them. Pennsylvania, you're tired of the cold, step into the sun. WSU photographs, there were 55 of they're all like, the office is barren. We didn't like it in there. That weirdo was in there. Then they got all these exhibits, and they got, okay, so Matt and Brett, now Ruth Ballard at the Bright. So all the, from the defense and the prosecution side, right? So case summary. And they go through what happened in the home, how it was laid out, and who was which bedroom. And we all know this behind that. Maddie and Kaylee were on the third floor. Ethan and Xana were on the second floor. Um, so it tells you where they found them at. All autopsies performed by the chief medical examiner. Okay, now here's where it gets a little pretty graphic, guys, with was done. And I remember thinking when I read it early, I could see the photos we were looking at when we were talking about, or I was talking about being low to the victims, not being, because he's tall, he's not like way up here, he's down low. Was he over them, bending over from the side of the bed? Did he jump on the bed and straddle them at one point, or at least one of them? Now, keep that in mind. Did he do that? You got two victims. One's going to become startled and stir around when you're attacking one. What are you going to do? You're going to lean over, or are you going to jump onto the bed and the same time your sheath is right there? I don't know. That's the way my head's visioning that could happen. All right. So we're going to move into Kaylee's. One second, guys. Y'all just say a little prayer for these guys and hope they all can rest easy now and this all be over soon. Sorry, I had to get something from my sister. Just one second. Okay, one second. Okay, alrighty. Yeah, Rachel, we know she fought, right? We had read in past documents that talked about it. Um, and now we've seen the photos of her room, and damn, you can see it, right? We analyzed what those swipes were. We know those swipes didn't occur from somebody who wasn't trying to get away from the hand and the blood. Ugh. Yeah, just hold space for the families, right? And I'm gonna do this regardless because I true crime, right? But I do hold space for all four of the victims' families. That goes without saying. Um, but I don't feel like they're watching this YouTube stream either. People should just try to be respectful, but people are going to do them no matter what. So we're just going to do it our way here. And y'all are always respectful in chat. And we appreciate y'all being here. And like I said, if it gets too heavy, I get it if y'all need to step away. All right, so we had heard Steve Gonzalez come out in interviews closer to right after the plea agreement, more and before he started talking about it. And he doubled down on it about the types of injuries Kaylee did receive, and that possibility of this mark being on her mouth as if something covered her mouth, right? So keeping those things in mind, and they said she was unrecognizable. Now, it took them a little longer to get to Kaylee's parents, but I think it took them a little longer to really identify Kaylee based on the IDs they found in the home. Kaylee didn't look like Kaylee, right? So you couldn't go off that alone. So you have to keep that in mind as well. And bless her heart, she fought too. I think she became startled and woke up as Maddie was being attacked. And I think that it just was an all on out assault at that point. And this proves that this dude is a fucking monster. Kaylee J. Gonzalez. This was before November 16th at 4:50 p.m. Cause of death, multiple sharp force injuries. Significant contributors to the death, blunt force injuries of the head, asphyxial injuries. Remember when we were talking about if he was actually on top of them on that bed, he's really going all in on the chest up, right? And there was an interesting photo I forgot to bring up last night to show you guys on the bed. The bodies aren't there, so it's not like we're going to see anything. But what we do see, I was like, wait a second. What? What? I would love a crime scene analysis person to look at that and tell me what that meant. And I have a note to share that with you guys. Um, it looks like a sliding something was slid down the bed. That's all I can say about it. It's really weird. Blunt force injuries to her head and asphyxial injuries. So that K bar, the butt of it, right? Even the side of it, everything about that damn thing is a weapon. It is designed to be a multi go-to type weapon, right? It don't play for what it was created for and what it was used for in the military, um, and what you can do with that thing. You do a lot of damage. So can the fist of a really big, tall guy, especially on a victim who's severely injured, right? So we got blunt force injuries of the head. That's not stabbed wounds, that's direct blows to the head. Punches. Are we stabbing one and punching another at the same time because we're strapped? What in the hell? Is that one way to keep one down while I'm doing? Wait a minute, he's left handed. Holy, okay, hold on, I don't know. I am too, but if I needed to do something with both hands, I could pull it off. But I don't know about being accurate with the right hand. Hmm. Okay. They also had significant findings include stab and incised wounds of the scalp, face, and neck. There were 24 plus. So not only was she taking blows to the head, but he's stabbing. So is he turning that knife? Do you know what I mean? Stab with one end, hit with the other end, stab like that. Was he using it like that? Good Lord. That poor girl. Stab and incised wounds to the chest. There were 11 total. Stab and incised wounds to the upper extremities. There were only 3. She had puncture of the outer table of the skull, injuries to the teeth and tongue, perforations of the subclavicle artery and vein, hemorrhage in the chest cavities. Blunt force injury includes scalp laceration, bleeding around the brain, nasal fracture, scrapes on the nose and cheeks, bruising around her eyes, patterned bruising extending across her lower face. Hemorrhages were present in the eyes and the mouth, and she had a blood alcohol level of 0.107. Now, remember, Steve talked about some of this in interviews, that what Kaylee went through. And we can't forget that Kathy Mabbitt called the Gonzalez house and spoke to Kaylee's minor sister, but the girl, I don't know, she got her to talk, and the lady gave her a report and identified things that were done to Kaylee that was in detail. Devastated that child. Other findings, she had patchy hemispiration pattern with evidence of blood in the airways, which would be expected in that condition. So, I mean, he was going all in, guys, like 90 to nothing, because this is all taking place fast. This ain't a slow mo. This is not happening in slow motion. This is going down so fast. It has to. And the lack of transfer behind, and I'll say behind him, either if he's standing on the side of the bed or straddling the victims on top of them, how far up that knife is coming back when he's going back with it, and the cast off that may come off. A lot of the what's coming out of the victims is going onto the bed and onto him. Like, how did this guy get away with not getting shit in the car, right? When I think about what he had to do, what he had to actually do, and what was getting on him, you can't tell me nothing got on him. Not even a speck. Bullshit. It got on you. Where's that evidence, right? because it would contain the victim's blood. It's probably hanging out with that knife. I still need to go. I need to go to Johnson Bar Campground. Damn it, man. All right, Madison Mogan, November 16th at 2:25. Cause of death: multiple sharp force injuries. Maddie had stab incised wounds of the scalp, face, and neck. 13. So, like Kaylee. Were you doing it simultaneously? They're right there in bed next to one another. But once you hit that first blow, they're like already, you know what I mean? And then boom, 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 you're going in fast. Are we doing this simultaneously? Ugh, that's horrible. Stab wounds to her chest, there were 5. Incised wounds in the to her upper extremities, there were 10. So she got arm out of the cover. Wounds of the lung and the liver. And she also had perforations of the subclavicle vein and the artery, blood vessels of the chest wall, and the blood alcohol of 0.282. Maddie was feeling pretty good by the time she got to the grub truck, man. Incision of the nasal septum, perforation of the tongue and oral mucosa, um, fluid in her upper and lower airways. This guy was going all in on their faces. You know what I mean? You got the chest. If you want to end life quickly, you go for the heart. You go for the jugular. What do we do? You're mutilating faces. Fuck. All right. Santa Coronodal. It was before November 16th at 11:15 a.m. Cause of death: multiple sharp force injuries. Other injuries: abrasions and contusions of the head, torso, and extremities. So abrasions and contusions. That's not stab wounds, right? That's beating. Significant findings include stab and incised wounds of the scalp, face, and neck. 23 total. Stab wounds to the chest, 7. Stab wounds of her abdomen, 4. Incised puncture wounds of the back, 3. In the back, as she's trying to get away. The fuck, dude? Incised wounds of the upper extremities, 25 in total. Incised wounds of her lower extremities, there were only 5. And it's only 5. Like, I mean, that's 5's enough. Punctures of the outer table of her skull, preparations of the jugular vein, heart, lung, and pulmonary blood vessels, hemorrhage into the chest cavities, wounds extending into the bones of the right hand. We had heard so long ago her fingers were nearly severed. What does that tell you? What did she grab? Or did she grab it? Scrapes and bruises on the face, torso, and extremities. Her blood alcohol was 0.229. Amphetamine level. Now, we know there was blue powder found in Xana's room. It did test positive for amphetamines. Her and Ethan both did have amphetamines in their system. I know nothing about it or these dosages or what it means. But her level was 12 ng/ml. Okay. Abundant bloody mucoid materials in her airways, and then also um, pulmonary preechemia. Okay, so Ethan's autopsy comes up next. So Xana had a lot of wounds. They took a lot of photographs during her autopsy. Um, Ethan Chapin's autopsy was November 16th, 8 a.m. Cause of death, multiple sharp force injuries. Significant findings include stab and incise wounds of the scalp, face, and neck, 4. So not near as many as the girls. Stab wound of the upper chest, 1. Incise wounds of the upper extremities, 6. Stab and incise wounds of the lower extremities, also 6. We heard that some time may have been taken with Ethan's legs for some unknown reason. Perforations of the jugular vein, the subclavicle vein, and the subclavicle artery. His blood alcohol was 0.112 or 0.122. Now his acetaminophen amphetamine level, according to this, was so much higher than Xana's, and I don't know what that means. 260 for him, and Xana was, oh, I passed it. 12. Wait a minute. Go back. This thing is jumpy again. Okay. Her level was like at a 12 ng. His was 260 ng. I don't know what that, what that meant for Ethan's awareness. Do y'all know what I mean? That's what I'm getting at. Would he? Because I'm trying to think. If Xana was attacked so viciously, there's got to be a lot of noise. There's noise happening. How long did it take Ethan to come to and wake up? Start to startle around. I don't know what kind of effect that would have had, so I have no clue if that's even a factor. I have no, not an expert. So this is a caveat they add. Okay. In the content of this report, stains or stain patterns are visually consistent with blood, referred to as blood or blood stains. Okay, they're just making clarification on their definitions and terms. So that was a lot, guys, as to what, to the extent of their right. There was no descriptive details on it, but mm. So 12 is well below the therapeutic threshold. Okay, cool. Because I don't know that, real happy. Thank you. I know there's got to be a therapeutic level for that type of stuff, and I didn't know what that was to know if that was even high, right? So thank you for putting that in there. Rachel says that she hopes karma shows up in a big way. It is slowly but surely. He's probably plotting his next complaint in the prison about something. The event people are probably steadily harassing. I imagine the nightmares and the sleepless nights and the wishing I was at home with mother because I'm scared right now. This is not cool. I should have paid more attention in criminology class to what the prison conditions really were and let that sink in. Yeah, he's reevaluating life. I hope you wallow in it, motherfucker. Oh, sorry. I cannot. All right. So they go into these observations about the house. Again, they give you this. This is the outside of the house, of course. We're going to get into the Turvey's stuff here in just a minute. That's a little more detailed because that's this stuff here. Just okay. Let me check my notes because I want to make sure I did go through the things I wanted to go through before I jump ahead. So then they're going to go into a description here. Now we're going to look at what I really wanted to focus on too is what this defense expert had to say and his take on this crime scene. And what what would that have meant when we got to court? If he was going to come out here and say all of what he's about to say, it makes me think about a lot of things. Okay, I'm not sure how to take it yet. I gotta process it. I may spend all weekend processing what this guy's trying to sell. So let me make an adjustment here. Okay, all right. Jumping ahead. It's a long document. Yeah, I have that saved. I got that interview saved, and I got a news clip saved. There's a case that I watched this Turvey guy review for some kind of news agency. And I didn't get to review the whole thing, but he was like throwing shade at the prosecution's analysis, right? I was like, oh, hell, he did not. So I have that saved as well. Um, is that Butterfly? Do y'all have the link to the one with Sarge, that show? If you do, drop it in chat for everybody. In case we don't get to it tonight, they can go review it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm looking at my note about something real quick. She tell me. Oh, I know. Never mind. Never mind. Let me look real quick. Oh. Oh goodness. All right. All right. So I had my notes right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't messed up over here. Hang on. Let me. Uh. Okay. Damn. I got another. Okay. Sorry. Had two messages come in that I had to check. All right. Now let's get back on track here. All right, y'all got the link now and then in there for Sarge's episode that he did with Turvey. Okay. All right. So this is in rebuttal to Dr. Brent Turvey's report. It was dated January 22nd of 2025. Turvey comments on the lack of blood detected in Koberger's vehicle. Now remember, everybody's like, "Oh, if they get to find the car, they're gonna find evidence." It was kind of surprising they didn't, but not surprising either. I wasn't surprised that they didn't find any, because there was a gap in between the time the car was found, and I don't know how much cleaning went into it. What I don't know. That's enough time in my brain that things could happen, right? So I didn't know, but I also know that stains can last a long time. When I saw what they were able to pull out of Crystal Rogers' car after years of sitting there with the new team, a whole forensic team came in and went through that whole car again. And what they found compared to what wasn't found before blew me away. Anyway, so it could go either way. Turvey comments on the lack of blood detected in Koberger's vehicle. Despite an extensive and exhaustive forensic examination of the defendant's vehicle for bloody clothing, blood transfer, and other evidence related to the crimes, down to the metal, none was found. This has essentially excluded the defendant's vehicle as being related to the commission of these crimes. The failure to be absolutely clear and forthcoming about this evidence fact would be evidence of bias. So he's saying that the lack of blood in Koberger's car makes his car not the car of interest. That's not suspect vehicle one. There's no evidence in that car. Now they come back with their rebuttal. They say the state says their expert says the failure to detect blood in the defendant's vehicle does not exclude the vehicle from being related to the commission of these crimes. For reasons previously discussed at the Nodell rebuttal, there can be a myriad of reasons blood was not transferred to or detected in the defendant's vehicle. These findings need to be understood in the context of all available information. So you got the experts are like going to go at it in the witness stand, right? Lack of blood in the car. Well, here's why there could be lack of blood. What would the jury have bought, right? Turvey has comments on the lack of blood at the sliding door as well. The back slider. On the second is a sliding glass door, which is found to be open by law enforcement. So it was open when law enforcement got there. It has been inferred that this is the location where the suspect may have entered or at least exited. There is no physical evidence to support this, and as again, there would need to be the requisite of bloody transfer. If an intruder left the house through this door, having left it open upon entry, there would need to be bloody footwear patterns on the floor from bloody shoes or feet both leading up to and out of the sliding glass door. Now, he ain't wrong. We expected that. We're like, where's the footprints? There's none in the snow. There's nothing on that back. And I'm going back to the very early days of this investigation, the minute we were all getting pictures coming in of this house from the local medias that were all there. I mean, we're looking at everything. We're looking at that backyard, every little freaking thing we could see. Where's the footprints? We had an image of them photographing something in that backyard that appeared to be a photograph of a footprint impression in the leaves leading from the house up the side back to the back parking lot. But is that it? How could that occur, right? Could be a lot of reasons why, I guess. So then the state's expert says if the sliding glass door was in an open position when the intruder entered, or open position after the intruder entered the residence, there would be no need for the intruder to touch the door when exiting. Well, no shit, it's open, right? So he's not going to touch it when he leaves. I didn't have to. They left it open for me. I didn't touch it going in. I ain't touching it going out. I think he was gloved, so touching it didn't even matter. Therefore, there would be no need for the intruder or any blood stains on the intruder's person. So he's like, there's no fingerprints even to say my client touched that back door. Then I would come back as a defense attorney or prosecutor and say, well, what about gloves? Make it make sense. And they also no blood, right? Blood stains on the intruder's person or in the possession to make contact with the sliding glass door. So there was no blood left on the door either. The assailant could have removed bloody gloves or removed blood stains before leaving. Wait, what? Removed blood stains before leaving. Is there evidence of that? Because that's not the same as unclothing bloody gloves, removed bloody gloves. It doesn't say removed bloody clothing. It says removed blood stains before leaving. Did he carry his... Wait, was that a wet dry vac? Wait. Oh my goodness. He could have also thrown a tarp down upon entry because that funky wall is there. An old girl in that room can't see shit except for a kitchen stove and a window that overlooks Jack's house. So, could he have dropped a drop cloth down, got back over to it at the end of the day, stripped off real quick, throw that shit in the backpack, and haul ass? Could have. Thought about it. The extent of secondary transfer inside the crime scene by someone other than the decedents is minimal. Okay. There are 3 possible exits from the crime scene, and there are no visible footwear transfer stains or secondary transfer stains at any of the exits. So if you go back to the way he attacked in the Maddie's room, they're both on the bed. there's not a lot in that floor. We saw that. There appears to be, once luminol was in Maddie's room, something at the foot of her bed was there at one time, but wasn't there before luminol was applied. Could that have been a stain from where somebody got sick in the past? Maybe, I don't know. Um, but there was not a lot of blood in the floor, but it was all over Xana's floor. How much did he actually step in? There wasn't a lot in the living room either, droplets. So, was there a lot for him to step in other than what was in Xana's room as far as the bottom of his feet making contact with something, right? That's where you got to think about the bottom of the feet. How did they not get stuff all over them? Was there a lot of contact made with the red substance, right? I don't know. There are 3 possible exits, and none of them showed footprints leaving the scene. Okay. Which I'm sure investigators thought that was weird upon first examination. I'd have been like, that's a little weird. You were awake? I mean, no. It can be established that the perpetrator had to have used one. I'm going to tell you right now, if that sheath had not been found with male DNA on it, how relevant would that white car circling out there how relevant would it have been? No footprints leaving this house, no evidence of a break-in. Got a white car out there running around, but we don't know who the hell that is. Got a lady walking out there, look, the DoorDash driver. What else? Think about it. If the sheath wasn't there, what would they be thinking? I know what I'd be thinking. There are 3 possible. Okay, let me get on with it. It can be established that the perpetrator had to have used one of the available exits to leave the crime scene. Secondary footwear transfer stains or secondary transfer stains were created. So secondary footwear. Okay, there are 3 possible exits from the crime. There are no visible footwear transfer stains or secondary transfer stains. It can be established that the perpetrator had to have used one of the available exits to leave the crime scene, but no secondary footwear transfer stains were created. This seems to negate Turvey's conclusion that the lack of secondary oh, I see what their word salad just did. Even though there's no leaving the scene, we know somebody was still there and left the scene. So that doesn't make what he said make any sense, because there's no blood, there's no crime. There's no footprints, there's no crime. Get it? Damn. Dr. Turvey indicate. Okay, here we go. And this, I don't know how he concluded this. Maybe he'll help me get there to understand it. Hold on, though. I had to get a drink there. Okay. Dr. Turvey, this is the defense expert now. Dr. Turvey indicates that Gonzalez and Mogan were posed. The evidence suggests that after both victims were killed or unresponsive, they were posed in their shared bed. Kaylee was moved from a position with her head on her pillow to partially atop of Madison. Then the comforter was placed over both of them. Now, whether or not that was staged or not, say it wasn't. You got Kaylee's head resting on Maddie, and he says that was posed. All right, well, so now, how would he determine that? Now, the prosecution comes in and says, posing is a possibility, but not a excuse me, as a determination that can be made to the exclusion of other explanations for their positioning. So they're going to concede that, yeah, that's a possibility, I guess, but there's also other explanations. First of all, I need to know how that saying they were posed is a pretty huge. My mind didn't go straight to some weird ritual stuff. A sick serial killer can also pose as victims. Ask BTK. Um, that shows a different level in the criminal. So I need to know more about that. For that reason, Turvey, you should know that. You're a criminologist, my guy. What are you doing? Posing is a possibility, but not the determination. Okay, you can't make that determination. He says, as Turvey states, quoted below, posing requires an intentional act. This refers to intentionally arranging the scene for effect. In the present case, now y'all know what Danny Rawling did in one of his victims' cases? For shock value alone, he decapitated one of his victims and he sat her head on the dresser facing her body. So when the cops walk in, that's one of the first things they see. And he admitted he did that shit for shock value. Like, what are you doing? What the hell? And hey, Koberger, he was infatuated with some Danny Rawling. Fucking sicko. Hold on. Oh, okay. So apparently that's how they were found with Kaylee's resting on Maddie a little bit there, which doesn't make sense when her family comes out and says she was sitting up, partially sitting up against the wall. I, I'm so confused now as to which one was it. What crime scene photo did he see compared to what they were told? They were told stuff, then the leak got twisted. Careful there, Steve Gonzalez. These are discrete transfers on pillow consistent with contact being made by Gonzalez's bloodied head, but these discrete transfers could be the result of several mechanisms. So they see like a transfer stain of movement, like somebody slid her head. And I'm just thinking of the visual of the way the evidence, the red rum, would be on the pillow versus spatter versus sliding. It's hard to explain it without getting graphic, guys. I'm sorry. Because at some point this becomes very technical to me, and I have a way of compartmentalizing it like that. So I probably speak about it real matter of factly, but at the same time, I do get the weight of it, right? But goodness. So he's because you got to figure out how's this guy determining this stuff, right? How do you just like with Libby? She got up. Libby in the Duffy case, they say she stood up, she grabbed her neck, she walked around for a few minutes. How do you know that, right? And they try to tell us. Um, there are discrete transfers on the pillow consistent with contact being made by her bloodied head, but these discrete transfers could be the result of other mechanisms as well. Purposeful movement before she was rendered unresponsive, so her own movements could have caused it. Movement of her head caused by blows or in response to blows by the assailant. Yeah, Mr. Defense Attorney guy, your your guy could have posed her. I mean, what the hell? What are you saying here? Movement during the struggle, initially or inadvertently moved by the assailant. So intentionally or inadvertently moved by the assailant. As the comforter being placed over them, the spatter on the bottom sheet was limited to approximately a chest level, with a limited distribution of spatter on the bottom sheet. It is difficult to determine with certainty that the comforter has been moved. What? The lack of stuff on the bottom sheet. Everything was coming out into the sides, maybe. And so there's about the comforter being moved. Wasn't moved in the sheath planted and then put back. Or what? What? You didn't talk to Friday Filer, did you? And Taylor. Okay. Turvey makes several statements regarding the extent of blood that would be on the perpetrator. All right. He's got a theory on that. How we doing, chat? Hey, Cuff you. Yeah, we're just sitting here reading a document that just came out recently. Uh-oh. 1 second, guys. All right. Thank you. Gotcha. Y'all are Johnny on the spot. All right. We are going over this document. We're going to continue our read here of Dr. Turvey's determinations once he reviewed the crime scene photos. So he's going to make statements regarding the extent of blood that would be on the perpetrator. The extensive and close-up nature of the attacks on Kaylee and Madison, along with the blood evident in the room and the moving of Kaylee's body, are evidence that the suspect's upper bodies, face, hair, hands, arms, and chest area would have been covered in blood. Underlying added. Now Turvey says suspects with an S, and he says they would be covered, right? All available physical and blood evidence suggests that these were the first victims. All that they were specifically sought out on the third floor, and that the suspects then moved downstairs to the second floor. At least one of the suspects was observed by Xana Kernodle. This would have been covered in blood. So they're saying more than one suspect, right? And one of them saw Xana, and whoever attacked her would have also been covered in blood. So the extensive and close-up nature of the attacks on Xana and Ethan, along with the blood spatter and blood smears in the room, are evidence that the suspect's entire bodies, face, hair, hands, legs, chest area, legs, and the feet, footwear, would have been covered in blood. The suspect's entire bodies would have been covered because of the bloodbath that took place in that bedroom. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so now the state's going to have a reply to that. Oh, goodness. You've been reading it all day. I read it all day too. Well, I haven't read all of it. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going that far. I was reading a lot of this, and I was like, man, we got to go talk about this with the peoples, because it is heavy stuff to get into, but we're used to getting into heavy stuff in true crime, right, guys? All right, let me get my big ass cup. I got my large cup of soda here because I was thirsty. Get it out of my way, though. It was in my way. Can't see a thing. It was in the way of my mute button. I'm like, I have to keep looking around it. All right. So she comes back with the term covered in blood is not scientifically quantifiable. Your version of covered and my version of covered could be very different things, right? Um, just like my reasonable and your reasonable could be different things, right? When it comes to reasonable doubt, there is certainty evidence that the assailant in this case had some degree of bloodstains on the person or on objects in their possession, and the secondary blood transfers resulted by subsequent movement through the scene. So he's got secondary transfer dripping off the K bar as it moves through the scene in his hand. The number and quantity of bloodstains that were secondarily transferred in the scene was relatively small. Even during the violent activity associated with an assault, only a small number of quantity of blood was transferred outside of the bedrooms. We saw how much was soaked into the beds alone, right? Xana's was just everywhere in her room, unfortunately, but Ethan's was concentrated to the bed. The girls upstairs, same thing, concentrated to the bed because it was just so much coming out onto the bed, soaking it all in. And we saw a lot of Ethan's went down the damn wall. So that leaves me to believe the only thing really to step in was what was happening in Xana's room. While spatter was widely distributed in both bedrooms involved, the amount of spatter in the surrounding area where a perpetrator would be located as to create a void. Remember we talked about that in last night's show, yesterday's show, the example of where a void would be because somebody was moving. Um, Turvey himself points out that there is a lack of bloody footwear patterns at the scene in general. Precautionary acts. The precautionary acts in this case include the execution of living witnesses, the cleanup of bloody hands. Who cleaned up bloody hands? Footwear and clothing before leaving. And he did? The perpetrator wash his hands? Okay, let me start over reading this little thingy because I'm like, I'm processing while I'm reading and I shouldn't do that. The precautionary act in this case include the execution of living witnesses, the cleanup of bloody hands, feet footwear, and clothing before leaving, and the disposal of said clothing along with weapons used. Direct evidence of this cleanup can be found in at least some of the dilute blood transfer. What he sees evidence of the cleanup. Who cleaned it up? If Koberger didn't have enough fucking time for all that, did he? Or was it somebody else? He says it wasn't Koberger, right? It was two other people or other suspects, multiple suspects. Other than that photo from Maddie's room that gave me pause, what other evidence of a cleanup did they see that I didn't see yet? Which was located in different areas. And I'm not saying a cleanup occurred. I'm just saying I saw what I saw. Okay. And I know how to go back and compare with the other photo going, well, why is that lit up like a Christmas tree? There was nothing there. Which was located in different areas of the home. Indirect evidence includes the absence of bloody transfer from feet and hands despite the movement of suspects within the homes, the necessary opening of doors, and the absence of bloody footwear patterns at the scene in general. So he's saying because there's lack of footwear or footprints anywhere, no bloody doorknobs opening, there was a cleanup. It had to be a cleanup because there's no blood transfer onto the doors from grabbing the doorknobs and whatevers. Now Turvey refers to indicators of assailant. You better give me some good indicators, buddy. I mean, because I was waiting on it the whole time. I mean, I was here for it. If y'all had a good explanation, I'm I'm not opposed to listening and changing my mind. Turvey refers to indicators of more than one assailant. It was not reasonable to think, oh Lord, it is not reasonable to think that Ethan would have remained in his bed after waking up or being awake while Xana was being attacked in front of him. I have a theory on that, sir. This evidence and context begin to suggest the existence of a second attacker. This issue will be addressed in a later section of this report. So think about this. If if any of this Ann Taylor thought for 1 minute could hold water in court in front of a jury, if the judge allowed her to do this, right? If you want to come in and say there's a possibility of two people, come in and say it, but you need to, back it up. I'll give you the opportunity. All of these, all the things that she did try, and they still walked away with a plea agreement, tells me there probably wasn't two attackers. And really realized at some point there was only one attacker. I think it was you, sir, my client. He said it was just him. And hey, if he's willing to take the rap for everybody involved, then go ahead, buddy. All right, so they're going to come in saying this. No wonder the prosecution was getting all aggravated with Ann in court and stuff. They're like, man, can we just say what we want to say out loud? Number of suspects. Now, also get this takeaway. Ann's going to take away whatever this expert's telling her, right? But is he telling her what he want? Is he telling her what he really thinks, or what he thinks she needs to hear? Because money talks and the bullshit walks. Ooh. Number of suspects. At least 2 suspects were involved in this attack. This is indicated by the fact that multiple weapons were used against Kaylee. That multiple types of lethal force were used against Kaylee, and that Ethan and Xana appeared to have been attacked at the same time. This is inconsistent with the state's theory that these crimes were committed solely by one individual. What makes him think that they were being attacked at the same time, Ethan and Xana? Maddie and Kaylee, that's set that aside. Ethan and Xana. What made him think that? Was she prepared to walk into court and really go there, y'all? All right, so the state says there is evidence that Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle were in close proximity together at some point after the assault began, as evidenced by the finding of Kernodle's blood and DNA under the fingernails of Ethan Chapin's right hand. And the finding of Chapin's blood and DNA under the fingernails of both of Xana's hands. One assailant could contain 2 people in close proximity to each other, especially if the assailant is armed, and especially if one is severely injured. You've got time to stop and go take care of the other and go back and finish your job. But these 2, Ethan and Xana, have each other's DNA, I would expect it. They also have each other's blood. Did they reach out for each other at some point? And oh man. A single perpetrator can certainly use more than one weapon and use multiple types of lethal force. I don't know that Kohberger had more than one weapon besides the fist and the K-bar. We know he liked boxing, so he was probably well practiced in the punches and the blows. Unless that boxing guy was going to come and testify that he was clumsy in the ring, like I think Ann. Guy couldn't stand up straight, trip over his own feet. Couldn't have done this. Turvey indicates that an excessive amount of time would be required for the perpetrator to clean up after the assault. So they were going to double down. There was a cleanup, which cuts into the timeline of this guy being in the house. 4:08, you park behind the Queen Road apartments. 4:20, you're speeding away at a high rate of speed. 4:08, 4:20. Everything had to occur in between those two times. Everything, including a cleanup. Whatever planning may have taken place with respect to this crime, it resulted in an excessive number of victims with an excessive with an with an excess of bloody transfer and bloody clothing on the part of the suspects. This took additional time to both effect and clean up before they could leave. Before they could leave. The precautionary acts in this case include the execution of living witnesses, and then he goes through that again. Okay. Direct evidence of the cleanup can be found in at least some of the dilute blood transfer, which was located in different areas of the home. So they got some diluted transfer. Indirect evidence includes the absence of bloody transfer from feet and hands, despite the movement of suspects within the home, necessary opening doors, and the absence of bloody footwear patterns in general. All of this would have required an extensive amount of time at the scene to clean, perhaps hours. Damn that 8-hour gap coming in hot. Perhaps hours, which is consistent with the state's theory that these crimes were committed within a time interval less than 15 to 20 minutes, subsequent to 4 a.m. That 8-hour gap was going to cost them. It was going to cost them dearly, like it or not. Sutton's comments, washing or wiping hands takes a little time, especially if preparations for cleaning are made beforehand. I don't know how much time, but did he carry sanitizer with him too? Removal of protective clothing and shoe covering takes seconds. Now, I'm more down with probably that. I don't know that he needed to wash his hands. Strip them gloves off. Got them black latex gloves. We saw them in his apartment. Oh, and remember he had them on at his parents' house. He was like scared of the germs. So the black latex gloves, and then maybe some other gloves over that. I could get behind more stripping off my kill suit more than me washing my hands and all that stuff. That's taking up too much time. Plus, that girl right there just saw me through the crack of that door. I got to get out of here. Got to take all of it into account. Turvey reports that the knife sheath was staged for the following reasons. Oh, hell, he did not. Oh, Jet says, saying all of this, I must have missed that part. So, this is a report from Dr. Brent Turvey. He is a crime scene reconstructionist and criminologist that was hired by the defense for Brian Koberger. This is all coming out of a 155-page report that was received from a FOIA request in the case. And that's what we're reading from. So this was his conclusions that he put in his report and gave to the prosecution, right? He's like, our guy didn't even do this. Multiple other suspects did. So this is what he says happened, right? And then we go into reading what the state's reply to this is. All right, so he says, this is his report. Staging. Crime scene staging refers to an attempt to confuse or misdirect a law enforcement investigation by altering, fabricating, or planting evidence in relation to a crime scene. And then they cite something he wrote. He's got 2 books, I know that. In the present case, a K-bar knife sheath was discovered in the crime scene by law enforcement. Evidence of staging with respect to this item of evidence is as follows. I wonder what the timing of this report and Friday Filer's date of that filing when he alluded to it could have been planted. Everybody's like, oh, he just did not say that. So this guy's saying it. Okay. Evidence of staging with respect to this item of evidence. So the sheath is now staged. Turvey says the sheath was found precariously placed just slightly under the body of Madison Mogen and partially covered by the comforter that was placed atop the midsection of her body by the suspects. It could not have fallen off accidentally into this location. Why not? We explored that. I did. I mean, why not? I don't think it fell off anything. I don't think it was strapped to the kill suit and fell off. He took it off, had it in his clean hand because he hadn't done nothing yet, pulled out the K bar, and maybe somebody was waking up by that point, drops the sheath. It lands right there because maybe he's standing right next to the bed or hadn't jumped on top of him. I don't know. How could he not say that it couldn't get there? It could not have fallen accidentally into that location and then get covered up. They're saying, how could it partially be under the blanket? Because when the guy got up, did he toss the blanket? We don't know. Would that, if you toss the blanket, would that have caused the sheath to fall to the floor? I don't. Lord, that's like a mild conclusion he come to there. All right. So then the state replies, see, I'm willing to explore his theory, see if it works. The sheath could not have become trapped under Madison's body when the sheath could have become trapped under Madison Mogen's body when she moved her left leg out of bed. Ah, hold up. The left leg makes perfect sense to the picture that I can't get out of my mind. It's absolutely a slide mark. That's the left leg sliding off the bed on toward the floor. That explains everything I see on that picture. And when that happened, it put a little weight on the sheath, causing it to stabilize right there. Left leg out of the bed. If she were hurriedly moving her left leg, she would not have taken time to move the comforter, in which case, but there's blood. I mean, that's why you see it. The sheath would be trapped between the comforter and the bed. So they're trying to explain how it could have gotten there and been absolutely found right where it was found. Explaining that. Yeah, there you go. There's the link again to that interview. That's one interview that I found earlier. The guy has a whole YouTube channel, it turns out, but he also was a guest over on Sarge's channel in the past because he's a criminologist and crime scene reconstructionist. That's all I know. I didn't even get to watch it yet or review it, so I couldn't tell you what is said in it, but I thought it was worth reviewing for those of us who are intrigued by this stuff, right? All right. So they're telling it, they explain how it could have happened, her left leg moving out of the bed. I got to go look at another angle of a picture to see the side of the bed more. Okay. Sorry, my brain's going down a rabbit hole, guys. It would be reasonable for this to be in this location because it indicates that Kaylee Gonzalez and Madison Mogen were the first to be killed. And this is going to be a redacted picture. Turvey also concluded that Gonzalez and Mogen were the first to be killed. So Turvey also agrees that they were the first. It's never Xana. The sheath could have been covered by the comforter during the assault. When and if the comforter was moved by someone other than the decedents or even was searching for the sheath, there is no physical evidence to determine Which scenario is more likely? So are they gonna argue in court about was this comforter moved or not? And how, lordy, can you imagine the jury going, holy shit? Um, Second reason, Turvey feels the staged. The sheath was new and unused, as indicated by the absence of damage or wear to the leather. Did they not have the records where he just bought it in March of that year, a few months before he went to Washington? How much wear and tear should a fairly new sheath have that's only a few months old? Sir, the guy bought one in March of 2022. And I don't see, all he did was go hiking, and I guess he took it for safety. Unsure why this, and the state replies, unsure why this proves that staging occurred. It could just as easily mean that the knife was subjected to only light use in the past, or that it was purchased for this purpose. Oh, imagine that. He wasn't a hunter. He wasn't about to go all off grid and stuff. Third reason Turvey feels that the sheath was staged. The sheath was face down and had received only a few minute blood spatter. We saw that in the images, right? There's a few dots here, a few dots there. While resting atop a sheet with significant impact spatter all around it. Well, if you look at the photo, it's redacted where the body is, but the sheet, the bed sheet around the sheath, there's no blood on that sheet, that portion, because it's all being soaked under the victim. It's not, it hasn't went to that part. Yeah. You can see there's no blood around it. Like for it to be laying in a puddle of blood soaking it in. Like, what are you doing, dude? I'm just an armchair person. I can see that. There's no blood around it to be. There's a few dots of spatter, which I thought maybe more would be there, but I don't know. It all depends. All right, so the state comes back. The difference in the amount of spatter on the sheath versus the amount of the on the fitted sheet, or even the simply proves that the sheath came to rest in this location where it was discovered at a different time during the spatter producing event. It does not prove it was staged, okay? So the difference in the amount of spatter on the sheath versus the amount found on the sheet or even the comforter simply proves that the sheath came to rest in this location where it was discovered at a different time. Then, so it got there first, and then all the spattering occurred. I think a lot of that went on to the perpetrator. The sheath could have been at another location when it was spattered and then moved here at a later time. What? How? If the perpetrator did it himself? If the perpetrator moved the comforter, as Turvey believes, the sheath could have been moved to this location when the comforter was moved. This would account for a different amount of spatter on the exposed surface as well. Okay, so they're acknowledging that, I guess. So, fourth reason Turvey feels it was staged. The sheath was placed at the location without receiving bloody transfer from the hands or fingers of the suspect. Well, I would say he hadn't done anything yet, so I wouldn't expect there to be blood on it from his hands at that point. This means it was done after the attacks, posing, but also after the suspect washed their hands. So they had to go wash their hands and clean them and then stay. It's Lord with the word salad on this one. To be able to stage it, they would be covered in blood if they picked it up to plant it there. How did it get there to start with? Who it shouldn't have been in there. If it was planted, was it even really there during the crime? And these specks of blood were placed there later, and then the sheath was snuck in later. Come on, man. Sutton says, it is true there are no bloody transfers visible on the sheath, but the significance of this finding does not support placement of the sheath was staged. It could have gotten in this location without having been touched by a perpetrator, or even after their hands were cleaned or gloves removed. Either scenario would explain the lack of contact and staining without staging. Well, how? Okay. Did they also stage and plant the single source male DNA that belonged to Brian C. Koberger? Because that was always my big thing. Okay, I'm not blind to the ways of the world. I understand evidence can be planted, but if it was, it contains the suspect's DNA. How did we do that? Did we sneak into the crime lab where he does his little, work at WSU and somehow got his DNA and got it onto the sheath? you know, oh. How can you make a jury believe that item was planted or staged, but at the same time, that's not your guy's DNA either? What? Or it was planted as well? Mm, that's a big, that's a lot to walk into court and say without being able to back that up, to make that kind of an accusation. So this gets into the terms and definitions in the bloodstain analysis. And they're going to go through the scope of what all this means in the scientific examination of blood, courtroom testimony, and teaching bloodstain pattern analysis. They go through the terms and the definitions. So the jury would have to be explained. They got to the cut. We saw the cutouts that they had taken from the walls. That would have been brought in and talked to reconstruct the crime scene for the jury. We don't have the house to walk in. We had that little model, but you got to explain to the jury the trajectory of things and the movements and how you believe it unfolded. You can't just say, well, he walked in and did this. That's all you need to know. How did he do all that, especially in this limited time frame? It's all got to get explained. So they got to tell the jury how all this is, what all this is, even, right? The accompanying drop, the small blood drop produced as a byproduct of drop formation. And remember, we were looking at some of these examples yesterday in the show. Altered stain, blood stain characteristics that indicate physical change, angle of impact. We were talking about that, the relative to the plane of a target, which this blood drop strikes the target. So they're going in through all the things. Blood back spatter pattern, a bloodstain pattern resulting from blood drops which can be produced. A projectile creates an entrance wound. Projectile creates an entrance wound. Think about that. Blood clots, blood stains, blood stain patterns. A Bing ring is an outline within a blood stain from air in the blood. A bubble ring. What did I say? Bling ring. Hang on. Let me adjust my thing. There we go. Yeah, Rachel, I think he thought he didn't leave anything on that thing, right? And he was beating himself up when he realized that he did leave it. Did I really, did I leave anything on that thing, right? Had to eat him alive, man. He just did the best he could and thumbs up to mom and hoped for the best. Jeez. And when he drove back over there, was he considering going to look for it? Cast off pattern, cessation pattern, and this So a lot of us know what the cast off is. The blood drops released from the object, right, due to its motion. So the knife in motion would release the cast off. The cessation pattern, a blood stain resulting from blood drops released from the object um, due to its abrupt declaration. So this is going to be dropping from the item itself, the weapon. Directionality and all the things, drip patterns, drip stains. So drip trails, forward spatter pattern, bloodstain pattern resulting from blood drops which can be produced when a projectile creates the exit wound. So that's how they can tell, the entrance and the exit wounds based on the blood patterns that they're seeing, things of that nature. So if you walk into that crime scene and you're tasked with recreating what happened, whoa, in Xana's room. You know what I mean? That when think about what we've seen just in Xana's room alone, and what Hunter. Remember the body cam when you see Hunter and he's just standing there looking like he's white as a ghost, and we see it. Now we realize what he had just seen when he walked into that room and found Xana in that floor. All of that. So now you're the crime scene people walking in there, but they were probably taken aback by that for a moment, right? Um, so they go through all of the different types. They have satellite stains, which is a smaller blood stain that originated during the formation of the pattern or the parent stain as a result of blood impacting this. So once it impacts, it'll kind of, it'll spread a little. So they go through all the different things they would have had to explain to the jury as to what the differences are. And they're void, an absence of blood in the otherwise continuous blood stain. But that's what they were saying, there could be movement. White, an altered stain resulting from an object moving through pre-existing wet blood stain. And we absolutely see that in Xana's room. Right, Sandy. He didn't have time to have that sheath in his hand, right? That thing was an afterthought. Once that knife was pulled from that sheath, you got two people to contend with. You need both hands free. It got dropped right there, and that's just where it stayed at, during the whole thing, apparently. I don't think Koberger picked it back up and stuck it there and walked away, unless he secretly said, I need to be caught. This is the only way I'm going to get it done. Let me make sure they find this. Let me see how good they really are. If you want me, boys, come and get me. Hell, stranger things could have happened. He could have set his own self up because he knew he would never be stopped. I don't know. He is a criminology major. He knows. He knows. I could have so many different theories, my lord. Altered stain resulting from an object moving through the pre-existing blood stains. So yeah, this thing was so long, guys. I didn't even go through all of it. That Turvey stuff was super interesting to me, because man, you had some big ideas about what happened to this crime scene, right? So what can you do to back that up? Um, and again, they're going to go into this Appendix D now. Absence of evidence is not evidence. So then they're going to show different types of transfers. Object creating the transfer. So they got some illustrations here. I guess these would have been shown in the court because Anna wanted a review. You couldn't just go into court and show your exhibits. She needs to see them and sign off. And like, okay, we do. Gravity wins. The flow, gravity, or surface contours. Oh my goodness. They're showing some real pictures there. I did not realize that. Oops, sorry. They show how it drains down, right? Sorry. Okay. Duct tape bindings removed. See how there's that big white gap there. Mm. So they're going through all of this to show different things: drop formation when gravity's involved, area of convergence. Now, we see that a lot with trajectories of bullets, right? They can determine the angle and everything. They can almost determine the angle of the stabbing due to the way the blood spatter lands. I don't know how accurate they would have been with this guy's. It was all over the place. It feels like. Um, anyway, projected. They go with the different examples. This jury was going to have to sit through a lot and examine a lot, right? And be told a lot of things. So they're still going through the examples here. I didn't go through the rest of this document this far down, guys. I do got, and all those are redacted completely. So those are probably not eyesight friendly unless they're this case. You know what I mean? Let me scroll down because that's almost. It looks like that's what that is. All redacted crime scene photos, and we saw that in Madeline Soto's case. Um, there was pages and pages like that, and you could that's what it was. It was the photos of Madeline. Um, so yeah, that's what that is. After their examples are up, now that's crazy to think that a defense expert was prepared to come into court and say that, right? Would we have been like, tell us more? Can you prove this? You know, would y'all been ready to listen if he could have? I mean, I was willing to listen to Rick Allen's defense attorneys, so I was legit ready to hear whatever Anne had to say without going, "Oh, lady, you're just blowing smoke," right? I know better. But she never got me there. Came close a couple times. I'm like, okay, maybe the next document will tell me more. But then it was always like, well, what happened to that one filing? You never came back on that. Instead, I kept seeing more come back about mental health. I was like, oh boy, what are we doing here now? Um, I'm starting to get a little hungry, guys. Are y'all? What are y'all doing? Is it? Are y'all all warm still? It's not that cold here still yet. Mine's tomorrow. Let's see. Where did he go? Okay, let me pull this up. We'll take a look at this. Okay, so this is a website that he has. Faculty is comprised of internationally renowned and published experts. They work all cases, testify in court, and are board certified in criminal profiling. Well, we had a whole criminology department over there at WSU miss all kind of really serious red flags about one of their own, or did they? Hmm. So he's listed there as the director. Okay, so Brent's the director, and then there's some faculty members underneath him. Here's Mr. Turvey. Primarily, Dr. Brent Turvey works major case. This is defined by most law enforcement agencies as any investigation involving death, sexual violence, or multiple victimization. However, it is also referenced to requiring significant investigative effort, multi-jurisdictional coordination, and or intense public interest. You like the cases with intense public interest? What about the guy who's maybe not getting intense public interest? Are we going to do the same? All right. Since 1996, Dr. Turvey has performed casework as a forensic scientist, crime scene analysis, crime reconstructionist, forensic criminologist, and or criminal profiler. Jack of all trades for law enforcement agencies, police and prosecutors, attorney clients and government, NGOs all over the world. This includes case consultations, forensic assessments, investigative forensic protocol development, teaching, and expert testimony in both criminal and civil matters. Well, Turvey's casework tends to involve SA, false allegations, shooting incident reconstructions, serial R's. I can't say that word too many times or I will get in trouble because YouTube don't like grown ups using grown up words, regardless of the context. Serial homicides, mass homicides, three plus victims. So, mass homicide is three or more victims. Like your client? S sex homicides, aka femicides, domestic homicides, staged crime scenes. Well, you're an expert in staged crime scenes, are you now? Do you know those guys in the FBI from Delphi, Indiana? Or not, they're not from Delphi, the FBI guys, but do you know those Indiana boys? Trafficking and racial profiling and other violent crime related issues. Currently, Turvey is also the senior forensic advisor to the Dubai Police Criminal Profiling Unit, housed within their Department of Forensic Science Criminology located in Dubai. What? Dubai needs this guy? Have you seen the amount of wealth in Dubai? Wow. Hmm. Turvey also maintained a caseload of femicides, e.g., homicides, gender motivated domestic homicides, pre femicidal violence, trafficking, and human rights cases in Latin America. Many of these are related to drug trafficking and or human trafficking. Generally, they involve the implementation of the UN Model Protocol for Femicide Investigation in, in Latin America. The Forensic Criminology Institute's Behavioral Science Lab. In operation since 2019, the BSL has collaborated with the United States Agency for International Development, also Java, the United Nations, the Attorney General's Office in Bogota, D.C., providing support and training to attorneys and investigators. He is also the author or co author of more than 20 authoritative textbooks on these related subjects. Damn, Turvey. No wonder Sarge had you on. We got to go review that shit. Um, he is also the author or co author of the 20 authoritative textbooks, okay, used in college and university programs around the world. I wonder if Koberger ever studied or read anything this guy did. He's like, Anne, you should call this guy. The internet's talking about a cleanup and more than one person. We should hone in on that right there. She's like, I think you're right, dude. I saw what them chatters were saying in that one live stream we tuned into just for shits and giggles, and man, they're crazy. But let's do it. He is also the author or co-author. Okay. Education, he has a PhD in criminology. He has a master's in forensic science, a BS in history, and a BS in psychology. BS in psychology. Credentials go on and on. Publications that he was a part of. Okay. So it's got a long CV, if you will, there, I guess. And that's his company. Wow. He's got a lot. He was a mouthful, right? He was a lot. Yeah, Sandy, the first officer there, that young guy, all of them, you don't expect to walk into that, right? I think it would have took a lot. I think even a seasoned detective that, even from a bigger city that may have seen more in their time, might have been a little taken aback by that, and like, damn, this is overkill, right? It's not. It wouldn't have appeared to be a burglary gone bad by the looks of those bedrooms, especially Xana's. I could have. That wouldn't have been my first thought. My first thought would have been, man, this is intense and personal. Because when this first happened and I heard about it, and it's like four, college students unalived in their home, and I'm like, dang, somebody break in, they were all asleep, and they just didn't rob them and leave. They killed them too. What, did somebody wake up and, you know, that, and never imagined it would go that deep, as far as what happened in there, and then to find out it was not even for a robbery. You know what I mean? So then you go, okay, love triangle. What's going on here? When you find out there one of the victims is a male, it, when you're trying to figure it out, of what could have happened, because you always got to do victimology. Who are my victims? What were they doing? Who were their people? Did something in their life trigger this event, right? And if you rule that out, then what do you got? If we didn't have that sheath, what would they have? They wouldn't have been able to get a DNA profile from the sheath, and they may never have known that Brian Koberger across the state line drove a white Hyundai Elantra, because nobody at WSU thought it was relevant. They talked about it amongst themselves, apparently, that he could have been the guy, but nobody ever thought he could really be the guy, so they didn't do anything but talk about it. So, what would have happened? That was always my biggest thing. What would have happened without that damn thing being planted there or left there, dropped there, whatever it was, right? Eating and listening. Butterfly, I'm getting hungrier. I want to review that Turvey, what's his name, interview, but I am really starting to get hungry. I don't want to be distracted either. I feel like I've heard that name before, Sandy. Steve Weber. Is there a YouTube channel or something? Um, Let me see something real quick. This was crazy to me when if, I think I got this from Turvey's YouTube channel. Look, I can't help but show this. I don't know if I how to take this guy yet. It's like, see, he was on with Sarge. I think I have a timestamp of what they were talking about. No, I don't on this one. Because I didn't review this yet, so I don't know where. Hey, let's go watch this part of it. But that's what the thumbnail was like, or the show. You can see here.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to True Crime with the Sarge. I'm your host, Joseph Jackalone, and with me today is a very special guest, Dr. Brent Turvey. He is the director of the Forensic Criminology Institute. He has performed casework as a forensic scientist, a forensic criminologist, and he's acted as a criminal profiler for law enforcement attorneys and clients around the world. He also maintains a caseload of femicides from Latin America, which we will talk about later on. He's written and co-authored several books, including Criminal Profiling in its 5th edition, Crime Reconstruction, Forensic Fraud, Forensic Victimology, Criminal Psychology, and Miscarriages of Justice. This man has done it all. Brent, thanks for coming on today.
Miscarriages of Justice. Oh, is it Mr. Steve? No, Steve Weber. That wouldn't be Mr. Steve, I don't think. Is that who you're talking about, Sandy? Mr. Steve, True Crime Web. Let's see if we got the same guy. I haven't seen anything that True Crime Web's done in a long time, actually.
Hey, thank you so much for having me and for being patient with my stupid schedule.
That's okay. Things happen. I mean, we get it. You're a very busy man. We have lots of stuff to talk about, and we have a lot of people that have been anxious and waiting to hear you talk about some of these things. So we're just going to jump right into it. One of the things that I know causes confusion, specifically for some of my students, and for people in the true crime world too. The difference, or is there a difference between criminal profiling and forensic psychology?
Absolutely. And let me preface this by saying that I had to give this same explanation on Friday to a group of writers who are actually doing the reboot for Amazon for the Alex Cross series that's coming out. Alex Cross is a fictional character who's a forensic psychologist. And many young people get their inspiration for going into these professions based on movies and television. And, 90% of the time, it's just wrong. It's just incorrect information. Hollywood writers writing things they don't understand. And especially in this area as it relates to criminal profiling. Forensic psychology involves the assessment of individuals. It involves the assessment of people.
I wonder if he did an assessment of the individual. I'm ready to take this in, but oh goodness.
Down, you conduct a forensic interview, a forensic assessment, possibly using some instruments. Hopefully not the DSM, because it says right in the front of the DSM, don't use this in a forensic context ever. It's not for that, but most forensic psychologists don't read the DSM, so they don't know that. So they try to.
Well, goddamn problems with these forensic psychologists, all these therapists, that I'm concerned none of them know how to do their job. Now, I got a lot of respect for Sarge, and I like him. I don't know if these guys could be buddies. They could just be like, work acquaintances. I don't know. So that is the show that I was talking to you guys about that he was on. Dang, what in the heck? Hold on. Let me pull this play for a second.
Clinicalize everything. So it's a forensic assessment of a person. And you're not supposed to be diagnosing at all. It should not even be a place where diagnosis occurs. It should be a place where you're doing an assessment to answer forensic questions relating to, did they understand the rightness or wrongness of what they did? Are they capable of participating in their defense? Forensic questions related to the trial. Nothing else, because the forensic psychologist is not a treatment professional, and they're not allowed to do that. That would actually be a violation of the code of ethics. You can't both treat someone and do a forensic assessment. It's a conflict of interest. A criminal profiler is more what people think when they think of forensic psychology. It is someone who does an indirect forensic assessment of the behavior in a crime scene or related to a crime, either before, during, or after the commission of a crime. And this requires not psychology necessarily, because again, you're not diagnosing anything. What you're doing is you are doing an examination of the behavior. So first, you have to understand what behavior exists. Then you have to examine the victimology, how the vulnerabilities of the victim and how they were targeted.
Exactly. So I'm putting my mentality also into the perpetrator as he's entering that home and doing all these things. I wonder if you considered that. Or you just like automatically, just more than one person. I need to know more about how he came to his conclusions, right?
Then the modus operandi of the offender. So it involves examining behavior and understanding human behavior, but it also requires forensic science, crime reconstruction, sociology, victimology. It requires it's an integrated forensic assessment. It is not a one discipline can do it type deal. So the broad stroke is that a forensic psychologist examines people to answer questions related to court. They're doing an assessment of a person. They're sitting in front of somebody. Whereas a criminal profiler is looking at crime scene evidence and looking at crime scene behavior.
So one does what Dr. John does, and the other one does what everybody else does.
To determine whether or not they can extract from that or infer from that the characteristics of the person responsible. All right. I'm making it sound possibly more complicated than it is, and I should, because it is. It is complicated.
Yeah, and a lot of times I hear from students specifically, they think about going into a course of study because they think they watched, let's say, Mindhunter, which we'll get into another. We're going to get into that.
I actually loved Mindhunter for all the wrong reasons.
Right, but we'll get into the pop culture aspect of things too. But
sure.
The students sometimes get confused, and because they think forensic psychology, it must be about getting into the person's mind per se, and I'm going to be doing this for law enforcement. And I try to explain to them that's not really the case.
You're exactly right. So I think it's very.
Okay, so they're gonna. I don't know where all their conversation's going to go to, but I do have another clip of him with a couple of spots that I timestamp that we were going to look at. Just about, and it just caught me because I was like, under a quick review, I was like, wait a minute, he's like listening because he was asked to review what the prosecutor said, and he's like, ha ha ha, he's laughing about what their conclusion was. I was like, whoa, dude, you're like, okay. So let me pull that up and I'll show you guys a little bit. And I'll also grab the link and drop it because I think this is one that I'm about to show is the one that would have came from his channel. But that was a portion of what you would see over there. And I'm going to listen to that later myself, to that whole interview. Because I can't make up my mind about an expert until I give him a fair shot, right? I can't be that person. I can be, but I shouldn't. Okay. I think his channel is called, Internet's acting a fool. Wait. Okay. I think it was called Forensic Criminology Institute. He's got like 736 subscribers. Okay, I'll grab that link in a second. All right, so let me get this to where we need it to be. Put that on mute for a second. What did I say, 652? All right, so this is a show that was reviewing a particular case, and I'm not going to play the entire thing. But his thoughts about it was what I was listening to. Uh-oh, I did that wrong. Oh, goodness. Well, is it going to share the screen or not? It's having an issue. It's not wanting to do it. I don't know can you guys still hear me? It may be time to let this all go for the night. It's not wanting to pull up my screen. But what I will do is drop that link into chat. Let me know if you can hear me in chat, Butterfly, Forrest, Rachel, chatters, somebody talk to me. Let me grab that link for a second. Let me go do that. And that way we can kind of get a feel for this guy and what we think, right? You can hear me? Okay, cool. Here's the link to what I was about to present and show you guys. I don't think it's going to let me. Let me try it one more time. Thank you, Butterfly. Let's see. Let's see. My internet might be really getting sleepy now. Okay, and he was doing an interview. This lady, whoever she is, I don't know this channel. I'm not familiar with what they're doing here. So let me see if it'll share the screen this time. Let me give it a second. It's not doing anything. It's not pulling up the screen, guys. So it's having an issue. There it is. Now you can see it.
And Orion, a California-based DNA scientist. At the heart of the report is the prosecution's so-called smoking gun.
Okay, so this is a big report that was given by this team, and Turvey is on this team. Okay.
DNA on the fly of Daniel's uniform pants that matched the DNA profile of a 17-year-old accuser. Daniel stopped her on June 17th, 2014. That DNA was just one contributor to the minuscule mixtures of DNA from at least 3 different contributors, including at least one unknown male. That's important because when Daniel pat searched the 17-year-old female, he also pat searched another male and female who were with her. Early the next day, He also pulled over linchpin accuser Janie Liggins during an end-of-shift traffic stop. Liggins was the first to accuse Daniel, in her case, oral sodomy. She went public, and the case snowballed.
Okay, I think it was lagging for you guys, and apparently I'm starting to break up. Sound is going in and out, low and then back. And now you can see, and the sound is better. I'm afraid it's going to come and go. So, anyway, I dropped the link there to that video as well. If you guys want to go and take a look at it, I will try to bring it back up again, but I don't know if it'll work. You can hear me? All right, I'll try to bring it back up again. If I go silent, I guess got to be patient and wait to get a response out of chat before I can really get when y'all tell me it's not working, that appears to be working on my end. I think we're just a little bit behind each other. So it could clear up for me and still be messed up for you. All right, let's see. Again, this interview, I don't even know dude, that was loud in my ear. I'm not even sure of this case. So it was the Daniel Hotzclaw case. I'm not familiar with it. Hold on, I'm getting into the right spot. Okay. And this is just going to be a portion of it because I don't know that it's going to work well enough. All right.
Have happened.
Obviously, the first problem we have is that he's using his naked bare hand. If you're collecting evidence from a suspect or from a witness or from anyone involved in a crime, and you're going to move that evidence directly into an evidence bag, you need to wear latex gloves or Mylar gloves to prevent your DNA from transferring onto the object. So what he's done is he's contaminated the inside of the bag with his hand, and he's contaminated both items of evidence with his DNA, his detective's DNA, before putting them into the bag. That's how touch DNA works. It's very sensitive, and we can pick that up. The second thing is you must have only one bag per item of evidence. Now, to properly collect a pair of pants, you do not wad them up and throw them into a bag. That is completely improper because what you're looking for is stains, other transfers, and patterns. Let's say maybe you're looking for a hair, maybe you're looking for blood, maybe you're looking for semen. We don't know yet because we're right now at the collection phase. So when you collect a pair of evidence,
Is that running smoothly for you guys? Or is it looking really laggy on your screen? Because from what I'm seeing, that from my phone, it looks super laggy. If that's what you guys are seeing, so y'all can let me know in chat if it's lagging at all, because you can go and watch it on your own without interruptions. Because it's gonna that stuff right there will drive me crazy. So right before this started, though, they showed like in an area where they had it on video where this detective was collecting this evidence right here. And he's not gloved up, and that's why he was talking about he needs to wear the gloves. Okay, y'all can see it? Okay.
Now, let's back up a little to see what the detective does. Wait, pause it right there. Look at that. See anything wrong? Well, yeah, it doesn't take a trained eye to see a big problem. Detective Rocky Gregory puts his bare hand.
Thank you, Forrest. And that's what I'm looking for. Yes, it's playing, Rachel, but if it's fuzzy, that's what I'm looking for. So it is coming up fuzzy on y'all's end as well. That's what I don't want. I could tell that it was playing, but it looks super laggy, and that's what we don't need if it's super fuzzy. So let's just not even try. It's going to be aggravating for you, even for you guys, to try to hear that, see it, if it's going to lag out on you. I want the real-time feedback as to what's happening so I can get a gauge on what's going on. So maybe it's time for me to shut it down and go eat some dinner, right? And y'all do the same and stay warm. Go review if you guys want to later. We did drop the links there to what I was trying to play for you guys. maybe we can get back to it tomorrow sometime, because it's going to be cold and I'm just going to be chilling. I might go live again. I might not. I might take the day off and do self-care. I don't know. It may be Monday before I come back, right? But either way, I'll also top up our internet so we don't have to worry about anything crazy happening. I did get a notification that it was almost my time was almost up that I'd already purchased, so I'm gonna have to get some more, I reckon, but it's okay. All right, so you guys have plans this evening. I don't know what kind of live streams are kicking off out there tonight, so you guys know to be safe on the YouTube streets and venture off. And what I'm gonna chill out, make dinner, and watch Sarge's video um, with that guy Turvey, and see if I can and then we'll maybe come back tomorrow and talk about our thoughts behind it, right? Like homework. Y'all all go review this interview with this guy. Come back tomorrow and tell me what you think. Share your thoughts with the channel. Yeah, watch it later, Rach. Y'all know how we do when we get like Butterfly. We got our nighttime watch stuff ready. We're probably both watching the same Datelines every night. The music in the background. I don't know what I'm going to go eat, guys, but I'm going to go eat something quick and simple and easy. Probably make me some comfort food tomorrow, so it'll be all like one and done in a pot that's all good and warm. A nice break from watching Ryan. I don't know what that means. I don't know who that is. Yeah, I had never heard of that case he's going to refer to in this, and I don't even know if that was a local, like I don't know anything about that case, or whoever that was doing that expose documentary type thing on it that interviewed him for their piece, right? So that's going to be interesting to watch too, because again, if you got they're on body cams showing this detective taking evidence ungloved and put it in a bag. That's the kind of thing defense attorneys look for. It's not so fast, contamination, chain of custody, and all of that stuff, right? So, guys, thanks for coming in and tuning in tonight and unpacking these documents as they become available. Thanks to our friends of the channel out there who get these documents and share them with the public. And I appreciate the no nonsense. Here's the document. Read it and take what you will from it, right? I like that. We pass stuff to each other in the evenings. Butterfly says everybody stay safe out there and warm. Yeah, y'all take your precautions. Everybody stay warm, stay well fed, stay hydrated, all the things. Keep an eye out. I may come back live tomorrow for a while, but I may not be back until Monday. We'll see how things pan out and how I feel tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Thanks for coming in, everybody who's new. That new names we recognize in the chat tonight. I do want to say that Forrest gifted out some memberships earlier in the show. Appreciate that always. If y'all don't mind, hit the like button if you like what you heard. I appreciate it. Until then, I'm going to let you guys go, and we're all going to go do what we do, and we'll reconvene here at a later time. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you all for watching this here video.